Chapter 25:17. Blood goo this time. Zhuowen came here again to enter the world of ice and snow again. He felt that the small world of ice and snow should not be simple. Perhaps he could find something on a deeper level inside. The danger zone left behind by the battle between Great Brahma and Mu Qinxue had disappeared. After all, the aftermath of the battle between the two powerhouses could not last forever. It would gradually dissipate with the passage of time. After carefully searching the place where he found the small world several times, Zhuowen discovered with an ugly expression that he could no longer find any traces of the small world, let alone the entrance to the small world. Someone must have tampered with this place. There were spatial fluctuations here, but now it seems that someone has deliberately erased them, Bloodscale said indifferently as his gaze fell on Zhuowen. Zhuowen sighed lightly. He didn't have to guess to know that Mai Yujia had probably done something to the minor world, and it was probably for the sake of preventing him, Zhuowen, from entering the minor world once more and finding out Mai Yujia's identity. Come with me to another place. Zhuowen did not speak nonsense. He summoned the space-time wheel and left with Bloodscale again. This time, he went to the Sun-Moon Lake in the depths of the Cloudy Moon Lake in the far west. When he entered the Sun-Moon Lake with Mai Yujia, he found a one-way teleportation array. Then, the two of them were teleported into a strange, small world. It was also in that small world that Zhuowen discovered the blood-stained cliff and came into contact with the fallen Tao, confirming powerhouse. He had once promised the mysterious head in the river of space-time quicksand that he would bring back his left eye and heart within 100 years. Now that 100 years was almost up, and Zhuowen's strength was indeed much stronger, he naturally could not go back on his promise. Zhuowen was very fast. It only took him half a month to reach the periphery of the Cloudy Moon Lake in the far west. The two of them went all the way in. The star beasts in the depths of the Cloudy Moon Lake posed no obstacle to them at all. Instead, they were like cannon fodder that were easily dealt with by Zhuowen and Bloodscale. After arriving at the Sun-Moon Lake, Zhuowen wanted Bloodscale to wait for him outside while he went in alone. However, Bloodscale's eyes blazed as he said, "This lake is adjacent to a small world. In my perception, that small world has something I need. I must go in with you." Zhuowen was startled and immediately said gloomily, "The things in that small world must be mine. You have no right to take them." Bloodscale did not care. Bloodscale, blood. He said scale, Bloodscale, bloodscale, scale, Bloodscale, scale, Bloodscale, bloodscale, spirit, Bloodscale. Zhuowen thought for a moment and agreed to let Bloodscale go in with him. After going deep into the Sun-Moon Lake, Zhuowen followed his memory and found the stone tablet that he and Mai Yujia had found together. The stone tablet was a one-way teleportation array that could only be activated by a level 9 Divine Formation Master. Zhuowen had just become a level 9 Divine Formation Master, so the one-way teleportation array was not a problem for him. After spending half a day, Zhuowen activated the one-way teleportation array. Then, a white light flashed, and he and Bloodscale disappeared on the spot. What appeared in front of Zhuowen was a familiar valley. When he and Mai Yujia were first teleported here, they had appeared in this valley. Back then, the valley was filled with countless starry sky, divine veins. Unfortunately, Zhuowen and Mai Yujia had divided them all. Now, apart from the scattered stars and the surroundings, the valley was completely deserted. Zhuowen's gaze immediately fell on a path at the end of the valley that led deeper into the valley. Whether it was the valley or the path that led to the end, they were all formed by the void of starry sky energy. They were almost one with the starry sky. It was difficult to distinguish the difference between the valley, the path, and the starry sky with the naked eye, but a cultivator's consciousness could see the difference. Zhuowen and Bloodscale stepped onto the path of the starry sky and quickly rushed forward. Back then, Zhuowen's cultivation was not high, so he walked very slowly on the path of the starry sky. However, today was different. He was many times stronger than before, so he was not afraid of the stars that might fall on the path of the starry sky. Sure enough, when Zhuowen and Bloodscale reached the second half of the path of the starry sky, huge fireball-shaped stars came from the depths of the starry sky and smashed directly in front of the two of them. Zhuowen took out the king's sword and slashed out. A terrifying sword chi swept out and turned into thousands of sword chi. Each sword chi could accurately destroy a star, causing the stars to completely explode into nothingness before they could fall in front of them. After destroying the stars, the two of them passed through the path of the starry sky unimpeded and arrived at the end of the path. After walking out of the path of the starry sky, they saw a huge white arch. The arch was hollow, and at the end of the stone arch was a huge blood-stained cliff. However, this blood-stained cliff was much shorter than the one Zhuan had seen when he first entered. He knew that this should be the result of the battle between the soul of the true dragon and the left eye of the Tao, confirming powerhouse. Zhuan and Bloodscale arrived at the true dragon blood pool in front of the cliff. He recalled the countless disgusting blood-red insects and the heart that had crawled out of the pool of blood and felt somewhat traumatized. However, he also knew that the true dragon blood in the true dragon blood pool was genuine and could not be faked. It really is the true dragon blood. This thing has a huge effect on my recovery. Let me have the true dragon blood. Bloodscale immediately said. Zhuan coldly glanced at Bloodscale and said, "We'll split it in half, and you need to help me destroy the soul of the true dragon at the bottom of the pool." Bloodscale frowned slightly, but in the end, he agreed to Zhuan's conditions, and the two of them jumped into the true dragon blood pool. After a while, the true dragon blood pool suddenly boiled, and a terrifying amount of blood soared into the sky. Then a huge heart floated out of the pool of blood. However, countless blood-red insects connected together around the heart, turning into an extremely strange chain that firmly locked the heart in place. Thump, thump, thump. A powerful heartbeat sounded in this space, giving off an extremely oppressive feeling. "Give me back my heart. Give me back my eyes. Give me back my arms. Give me back my legs. Give me back everything." The same mournful voice rang out above the blood pool the moment the heart appeared. Thump, thump. Two wretched figures burst out from the blood pool and hurriedly flew back. Following closely behind these two figures was an incomparably huge dragon head. If one looked carefully, the surface of the dragon head was also composed of countless blood-red insects, which was extremely disgusting. Chapter 25:18. Repelling the blood parasite. Blood parasite? Zhuan looked at the countless blood-colored worms in the real dragon blood pool in surprise. It was the first time he had heard of this so-called blood parasite. It's understandable that you don't know. The blood parasite is a method of the sorcerer tribe in the Untainted Land. Although it is not the most powerful parasite used by the sorcerer tribe, it is the most difficult to deal with. Speaking of this, Bloodscale's eyes flashed with fear. Apparently, he was extremely afraid of the sorcerer tribe. Bloodscale continued. "Fortunately, there are not many blood parasites in the real dragon blood pool. I once saw the entire planet in the Untainted Land filled with blood parasites. All the creatures on the planet became food for the blood parasites. Even an expert at the second step of the Doctrine Realm would be seriously injured and die if he entered the planet." The second step of the Doctrine Realm? Zhuan asked doubtfully. However, as soon as he finished his question, the dragon head formed by the blood parasite roared and rushed over. Moreover, there was an endless stream of blood parasites gushing out from the real dragon blood pool and gathering behind the dragon head's neck. Upon closer inspection, the blood parasites were constantly combining into a huge dragon body behind the dragon head. I'll tell you about the Doctrine Realm later. Let's get rid of this beast first. Bloodscale roared and revealed his true body. Scarlet scales covered his body, making him look extremely ferocious and strange. Zhuan did not dare to lower his guard. With a flip of his right hand, he took out the king's sword. With a swoosh, the sword swept across the space and distorted the space-time. Zhuan used the last move of the Tao Destruction sword art, the Big Bang technique. Unfortunately, the power of the Big Bang technique was limited and could only make the blood dragon stagnate for half a breath. However, half a breath was enough. Bloodscale roared and slammed his claw on the blood dragon's head, smashing it into pieces. However, Bloodscale's face was extremely solemn, and he quickly retreated. The moment Bloodscale retreated, The dragon head that had been blasted to smithereens was enveloped by countless blood goo and reformed into a brand new blood dragon head. The blood parasites are too small a target. When I attacked the dragon's head, the blood parasites immediately dispersed. If I hadn't retreated just now, I would have been surrounded by the blood parasites and would have been in danger, Bloodscale said in a low voice. Zhuan's face darkened. Doesn't that mean the blood parasite can't be killed? Even if a Dao confirming expert is here, they still can't kill the blood goo? Bloodscale said, if it were a Dao confirming expert, they would naturally be able to exterminate such a small amount of blood insects. After all, Dao confirming experts possess powerful heavenly Dao origin energy and can directly destroy the foundation of the blood insects. However, you and I are currently too weak to destroy the foundation of the blood insects with a single strike. If the foundation of the blood insects is not destroyed, then they will grow again like weeds in the spring wind, which is extremely annoying. However, the blood insects are not without weaknesses. After all, they are insects and are innately afraid of fire. However, it is not an ordinary fire. You must have a strong enough flame, otherwise it will backfire. Zhuan was startled and immediately remembered the alchemic fire on his body. This alchemic fire was extraordinary. It was the flame used by the alchemic fire emperor when he was alive. After all, the alchemic fire emperor was a Dao confirming expert, so the alchemic fire he used must be extraordinary. Bloodscale, step back first. I have a flame on me that you can try. Zhuan stopped Bloodscale, who was about to attack again. Bloodscale was startled and immediately shook his head. He was well aware of the blood insect strength. Although the blood insects were afraid of fire, they were not afraid of ordinary flames. Although Zhuan's strength was indeed quite strong, Zhuan was born in a small place like the Eight Heavens. How could he obtain such a powerful flame in such a small place? Although Bloodscale did not believe in Zhuan, he still stepped aside. He wanted to see what kind of flame Zhuan would take out. Of course, he was also happy to see Zhuan's defeated appearance. The moment Bloodscale stepped back, Zhuan took out his alchemic fire. At this moment, the alchemic fire was completely inseparable from his clone. Especially after his clone had advanced to the third extreme realm, the alchemic fire was even more dependent on his clone. The second elder of the Pill Tower was right. The third extreme energy was very beneficial to the alchemic fire. Now that his clone had advanced to the third extreme realm, the alchemic fire was almost unwilling to leave. If the second elder of the Pill Tower knew about this, he would probably cry but have no tears. If he wanted the alchemic fire to return to the Pill Tower in the future, he would have to directly ask Zhuan's clone to take charge of the Pill Tower. However, the Pill Tower was also in the Six Desires heavenly realm. Zhuan thought of the situation in the Six Desires heavenly realm and wondered how the second elder of the Pill Tower was doing. Under Zhuan's control, the alchemic fire turned into a whirlpool of flames that filled the sky. It swept out violently and instantly enveloped the blood dragon. Sizzle, 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 sizzle. Zhuan was pleasantly surprised to find that the blood insects had been roasted into a charred state under the terrifying alchemic fire. The blood dragon, which was originally full of momentum, suddenly collapsed and completely collapsed. The remaining blood insects let out a shrill cry and burrowed into the blood pool to hide. Bloodscale was dumbfounded. He originally thought that Zhuan would definitely make a fool of himself. He didn't expect that this young man would be so powerful and have such a terrifying alchemic fire on his body. It instantly destroyed the troublesome blood insects. Bloodscale took a deep look at the alchemic fire that had turned into a ball of flame and landed in Zhuan's palm. He said, "Your alchemic fire is not ordinary. I didn't expect that there would be such a powerful alchemic fire in the Eight Heavens." Zhuan smiled slightly, but didn't explain the origin of the alchemic fire. To be honest, he didn't know the specific origin of the alchemic fire. Zhuan didn't even know what realm the owner of the alchemic fire, the Emperor Alchemic Fire, was in. Seeing that Zhuan didn't explain in detail, Bloodscale also knew that the latter didn't want to say more. His gaze fell on the heart floating above the blood pool. Due to the alchemic fire's power, the other blood insects that were binding the heart quietly retreated into the blood pool of the real dragon, so the heart was now completely free of its bindings. Whoosh! At the same time, in the abyss of the blood-stained cliff, a blood eye flew out and suddenly landed on the heart. The depths of the blood eyes revealed a human-like joy. "I have found your heads. According to the agreement, you will enter my spirit ring first. I will take you to see your other body parts," Zhuowen said lightly. He was not afraid that the mysterious eyeball would attack him. After all, he had made an agreement with the mysterious head, and he had allowed the mysterious head to leave its aura on him. The mysterious eyeball could sense his aura, so it naturally would not be hostile towards him. Chapter 25:19. Miao Bang's memory. A hint of hesitation appeared in the mysterious eyeball's eyes. Just as Zhuowen had said, it had indeed sensed a familiar aura from the white-clothed youth in front of it. After a moment of hesitation, the mysterious eyeball let out a whistle and plunged into Zhuowen's spirit ring with a heart. Seeing the mysterious eyeball and heart disappear into the spirit ring, Zhuowen heaved a sigh of relief. His gaze fell on the abyss below the blood-stained cliff where the mysterious eyeball was located. Back then, he knew that Ma Yujia had obtained a lot of Dao fruits in the abyss. Although he didn't know whether Ma Yujia had taken all the things in there, he had to go down and take a look. "Zhuowen, there are still blood insects in the true dragon blood pool. Do you think we should get rid of all of them first?" Bloodscale said with a mischievous smile. Although Bloodscale's strength was not bad, it was a pity that the blood insects were too difficult to deal with. Even if most of them were destroyed by the alchemy fire, Bloodscale was still somewhat afraid. After all, if he entered the blood pool to absorb the true dragon blood and was disturbed by the blood insects, it would be a very troublesome matter. The blood insects should have a queen insect, right? Zhuowen recalled the blood insects' tacit understanding when they attacked them and guessed that there must be something controlling them. Yes, the queen insect should be hiding in the depths of the blood pool. You must use your alchemy fire to deal with the queen insect. As for me, I won't be of any use at all, Bloodscale said with a mischievous smile. Okay, but the distribution of the true dragon blood is 60% for me and 40% for you, Zhuowen said indifferently. Bloodscale secretly cursed Zhuowen's black-hearted heart. He could only helplessly say, "If you get rid of the queen insect, I'll accept this distribution." Hearing this, Zhuowen nodded and released his doppelganger. The doppelganger landed on the edge of the blood pool, while his original body dived into the blood pool. The reason why he left his clone at the edge of the blood pool was to prevent this Bloodscale from entering the blood pool to absorb the true dragon's blood while he was dealing with the insect queen. The true dragon's blood was difficult to take away, but it was still possible to cultivate in the blood pool. Back then, if it weren't for the mysterious eyeball and the blood goo, Zhuowen and Ma Yujia would have cultivated in the true dragon blood pool for a period of time before leaving. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. After going deep into the true dragon blood pool for roughly 10 breaths of time, Zhuowen arrived at the bottom of the pool. His powerful divine sense swept out and carefully swept through the scene at the bottom of the pool. Soon, Zhuowen locked onto the bottom of the blood pool. On the left side of the pool, there was a cave half the height of a person. This cave was very well hidden, but Zhuowen's divine sense could easily discover that there was a pair of blood-red eyes staring at him inside. Perhaps discovering Zhuowen's divine sense, the owner of the blood-red eyes let out a roar. Suddenly, the surrounding water splashed as thousands of blood goo condensed into a sharp blood arrow and shot toward Zhuowen's heart. Zhuowen coldly snorted and immediately summoned his pill fire. Although he was in the blood pool, his pill fire was not an ordinary flame and could still grow and multiply endlessly in the blood pool. The moment the blood arrow formed by the blood goo touched the pill fire, it was immediately burned to ashes. Then, the owner of the blood-red eyes in the depths of the cave let out an even sharper howl. However, in this howl, Zhuowen could hear the fear in the voice. Obviously, the owner of the blood-red eyes began to fear Zhuowen. "Die for me. Zhuan stretched out his right hand, and suddenly, a giant hand made of divine force appeared and grabbed the insect queen hidden in the depths of the cave. Zhuan took a closer look and found that the insect queen was half the size of a person. However, its body was round and fat, reminding Zhuan of maggots on rotten meat, and this insect queen was an enlarged version of those maggots. At this moment, the insect queen was constantly struggling under the restraint of the divine force hand, and at the same time, it let out an extremely harsh and disgusting sound. Zhuan frowned and suddenly exerted force, and the fat insect queen was completely annihilated into nothingness. After dealing with the insect queen, Zhuan planned to leave, but his divine sense did indeed sweep over a golden bead. This golden bead just happened to be suspended in the position where the insect queen was annihilated. Zhuan knew that this golden bead should be inside the insect queen's body. Being able to remain intact under the destruction of his divine force meant that this golden bead was not simple. With a stroke of his right hand, Zhuan took out the golden bead and carefully looked at it, a cautious look in his eyes. He found that he could not see through this golden bead, so he tried to explore it with his divine sense. Suddenly, Zhuan felt a rumbling explosion in his knowledge sea, and he spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. Then, the golden bead turned into a golden torrent and sank into the depths of Zhuan's eyebrows. The reason why Zhuan spat out blood was because this golden torrent contained an extremely large amount of information flow. This information flow was too complicated and huge, and it was filled with too many memories. Although Zhuan's divine sense was strong, even so, Zhuan almost couldn't bear it. This is the memory of the blood parasite's master. After Zhuan calmed down, he immediately knew that the golden bead was probably a memory left by an expert. He roughly checked it and found that it was the memory of the blood parasite's master. This golden bead recorded the blood parasite's master from the beginning of his cultivation to his death. From this memory, Zhuan found out that the blood parasite's master was called Miao Bang, an expert of the sorcerer tribe. From this memory, the sorcerer tribe's cultivation method was completely different from the human tribes. Although Zhuan was born in the Eight Heavens were the territory of the human tribe after all. The cultivation method was inherited from the Xianmi heavenly region. The human tribe's cultivation method was to comprehend the way of heaven and use the way of heaven to verify themselves, so that they could achieve the unity of heaven and man. Especially after proving one's way, it was closely related to the way of heaven. However, the sorcerer tribe was completely different. The sorcerer tribe completely believed in their own strength. In order to pursue strength, the sorcerer tribe planted venomous insects in their bodies from a young age and achieved a state of symbiosis with the venomous insects. If the venomous insects were powerful, the sorcerer tribe would naturally be powerful. Of course, this cultivation was also related to the level of the venomous insects. The higher the level of the venomous insects, the higher the level of cultivation in the future. In Miao Bang's memory, Zhuan found that the 12 most powerful experts of the sorcerer tribe had appeared in the history of the sorcerer tribe. These 12 experts of the sorcerer tribe were called the 12 ancestors of the sorcerer tribe. The 12 ancestors of the sorcerer tribe were closely related to the origin of the untainted heavenly region, and the cultivation method of the sorcerer tribe was inherited from the 12 ancestors of the sorcerer tribe. It was said that the 12 ancestors of the sorcerer tribe had the 12 most powerful venomous insects in their bodies. It was these powerful venomous insects that created the 12 ancestors of the sorcerer tribe, and also made the 12 ancestors of the sorcerer tribe a legend in the untainted heavenly region. Miao Bang inadvertently obtained information about the venomous insect of Zhurong, one of the 12 ancestors of the sorcerer tribe, and it was said that the venomous insect of Zhurong was in the Eight Heavens. In order to find the venomous insect of Zhurong, Miao Bang took the risk to leave the untainted heavenly region and entered the extraterritorial starry sky. Chapter 25:20. Zhurong Gu. Miao Bang was very patient. After entering the Eight Heavens, he did not openly search for the Zhurong Gu. Instead, he slowly adapted to the Eight Heavens and searched for it secretly. He clearly understood that the Zhu Rong goo was too important. If anyone found out about it, whether it was the prehistorical heavenly realm or the Xianmi heavenly realm, he would become the public enemy of all cultivators. By then, he would definitely die. Therefore, the search for the Zhu Rong goo had to be carried out secretly without any mishaps. Miao Bang was indeed careful enough. In the end, he found traces of the Zhu Rong goo. Unfortunately, before he could make a move, he failed and died under Traceless Blood's blade. In Miao Bang's memory, the last scene that Zhuowen saw was a blood blade hanging high in the sky. It was like a blood sun, releasing endless bloody light and sharpness. Miao Bang finally activated the blood goo and blasted it on Traceless Blood's body. Then, he was cut down by the blood blade, and his consciousness fell into eternal darkness. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes. His gaze flickered. He did not expect Miao Bang to be from the Wu clan. In Miao Bang's memory, Traceless Blood was very strong, especially the blade before Miao Bang died. It was too terrifying. Even Zhuowen could not help but break out in cold sweat. Miao Bang had undoubtedly fallen. The true dragon blood in the true dragon blood pool was Miao Bang's mount. It was a low-level dragon in the ancient desolate continent that Miao Bang had tamed. Of course, even a low-level dragon in the ancient desolate heavenly domain would be a peak expert in the eight heavens. It seems that the owner of the mysterious heart and eyeball should be Traceless Blood. I wonder where Traceless Blood came from. Zhuowen muttered to himself. Although he had only seen Traceless Blood's blade in Miao Bang's memory, he knew that Traceless Blood was definitely not an ordinary Dao confirming expert. Of course, Zhuowen was not clear about the Dao confirming realm. He had never seen a real Dao confirming expert. Therefore, he could not judge the specific strength of Traceless Blood and Miao Bang. In Miao Bang's memory, there was only information about the cultivation realms of the Wu tribe. He was not very clear about the cultivation realms of the human tribe. Therefore, although Zhuowen had obtained Miao Bang's memory, he was still not clear about the cultivation realms of the human tribe. Of course, the thing that Zhuowen coveted the most in Miao Bang's memories was the Zhu Rong goo. If Zhuowen had not seen the memories of the Miao tribe, he might not have felt anything about the Zhu Rong goo. But now that he had inherited Miao Bang's memories, he knew how precious the Zhu Rong goo was. The venomous insects of Zhu Rong were the venomous insects of the 12 ancestors of sorcery. Ever since the 12 ancestors of sorcery had fallen one after another, their venomous insects have been scattered all over the boundless starry sky. Countless creatures in the untainted heavenly domain had tried to find the venomous insects of the 12 ancestral sorcerers, but to no avail. However, if one could obtain the goo of the 12 grand wizards, it was said that there was a possibility of becoming a new grand wizard. It should be known that anyone who could become an ancestral wizard was at least an existence that stood at the peak of the untainted heavenly realm. How valuable was that? And if one could obtain the goo insect of the ancestral wizard, it meant that one's future was limitless. Although Zhuowen was not from the sorcerer clan, he was also tempted by the Zhu Rong goo. After all, this thing was a treasure. Although he was only from the human clan and might not be able to use the Zhu Rong goo to cultivate, he might be able to use it in the future. Moreover, the location of the Zhu Rong goo was clearly recorded in Miao Bang's memories. It was actually in the Wuji Taishu of the Huaxia heavenly domain. It just so happened that Zhuowen was planning to go to the Wuji Taishu to look for the Great Void bone-refining ginseng, the 8 trigrams divining yang water, and the Great Simplicity double dragon Ganoderma. When the time came, he would go to the Wuji Taishu to look for the Zhu Rong goo. After Zhuowen left the true dragon blood pool, Bloodscale looked at Zhuowen strangely and said, "Why did you go down for so long? Did you find a treasure down there?" Zhuowen shrugged and said, "That insect queen is extremely cunning. I spent a lot of time looking for it, so..." Bloodscale pursed his lips. Although he knew that this was Zhuowen's excuse, he couldn't say anything. After all, Zhuowen had a flame that could restrain the blood goo, but he didn't. "By the way, you said that this true dragon blood is very useful to you. What about my Devourer King clone?" Zhuowen suddenly asked. Bloodscale glanced at Zhuowen's clone and said indifferently, "Every Devourer King's bloodline is unique. My Devourer King bloodline is of the blood attribute and can absorb the blood essence of powerful exotic beasts to cultivate. On the other hand, your Devourer King bloodline is of the metal attribute. Absorbing the true dragon blood will probably backfire. It's better to let your human body absorb the true dragon blood. It's just that it's a bit of a waste to let you absorb the true dragon blood, because you can't absorb 100% of the true dragon blood's energy. It will only cause unnecessary waste. But it's different for me." Zhuowen didn't bother to talk nonsense with Bloodscale. He jumped into the blood pool and formed a seal with both hands. He set up a restriction around 3/5 of the blood pool, dividing it into 2 sections. Regardless of whether it would be a waste to absorb the true dragon blood, Zhuowen wouldn't give the benefits of the true dragon blood to Bloodscale. After all, the last time he absorbed a trace of the true dragon blood, it was enough to strengthen his human body. Now that he had absorbed so much true dragon blood, his physical body was bound to reach a new height. The corners of Bloodscale's mouth twitched. He could only follow Zhuowen's instructions and jump into the other side of the blood pool that Zhuowen had divided. He also began to concentrate on absorbing the true dragon blood and began to restore his strength. While the main body and Bloodscale were concentrating on cultivating in the blood pool, the black-clothed Zhuowen, who was standing at the edge of the blood pool, quietly jumped into the abyss of the blood-stained cliff. The abyss below the blood-stained cliff was pitch black. As soon as the black-clothed Zhuowen entered, he released his divine sense and began to scan the space inside the abyss. What surprised the black-clothed Zhuowen was that the space inside the abyss was extremely vast, as if it was a boundless void. After descending for an hour, his divine sense finally noticed a tree at the very bottom of the valley. This tree was blood-red in color. Its trunk wasn't as thick as he had imagined. Instead, it was extremely slender. Zhuowen could clearly feel that this blood tree had a powerful circulation of Dao rhymes. Moreover, this circulation of Dao rhymes was no stranger to Zhuowen. It was exactly the same as the 4 Dao fruits that Ma Yujie had given him. It seems that the Dao fruits that Ma Yujie obtained should be from this blood tree. Looking at the empty branches on the blood tree, he knew that Ma Yujie must have plucked all the Dao fruits on this blood tree back then. Although this blood tree wasn't thick, it wasn't small either. Its dense branches could grow at least 20 to 30 Dao fruits. Chapter 25-21. The 3 steps of Dao verification. Landing beside the blood tree, Zhuowen was pleasantly surprised to find that the Dao rhyme within the blood tree was extremely powerful. Being under the blood tree, his understanding of the heavenly Dao had deepened. Whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, the blood of the heavenly Dao in Zhuowen's spirit ring burst out and was absorbed by the blood tree. The blood of the heavenly Dao in Zhuowen's spirit ring was obtained from the ruins of the Luotian Palace in the far west. It was formed from the Luotian Palace's understanding of the heavenly Dao. Zhuowen was caught off guard, and the blood of the heavenly Dao was absorbed by the blood tree. However, Zhuowen soon found that after the blood tree absorbed the blood of the heavenly Dao, Zhuowen discovered that a Dao fruit the size of a longan had formed on the thin branches of the blood tree. This Dao fruit was too different from the 4 Dao fruits that Ma Yujie had given him back then. He knew that the Luotian Palace's blood of the heavenly Dao was too weak, causing the Dao fruit formed by the blood tree to be too weak. This should be a Dao tree. The mysterious eyeball has been staying here for a long time, so its Dao aura must have stayed here for a long time. That's why a Dao tree surrounded by Dao aura was born here, Zhuowen guessed. Thinking of this, Zhuowen became excited. Compared to a Dao fruit, a Dao tree that could produce Dao fruits was naturally more precious. I wonder if I can replant this Dao tree. Zhuowen muttered to himself. Then, he uprooted the Dao tree and swallowed it into his inner world. However, Zhuowen soon found that the moment the Dao tree was replanted, the Dao rhyme on its body was rapidly draining away. Seeing this, Zhuowen was so frightened that he immediately placed the Dao tree back where it was. He no longer dared to replant it casually. After the Dao tree was replanted, The Tao rhyme on its body gradually slowed down and finally stopped. Zhuowen heaved a sigh of relief, but his face was a little ugly. No wonder the cunning Ma Yujia didn't move the Tao tree back then. It turned out that the Tao tree couldn't be moved at all. Once it was moved, the Tao rhyme on its body would slowly fade away, and it would eventually become an ordinary tree without Tao rhyme. Sigh. Let's refine phagocytosis under the Tao tree first. Zhuowen shook his head. Unable to think of a good solution, he simply sat down under the Tao tree and took out the phagocytosis and the only 2 Tao fruits he had. Although the Tao tree's Tao rhyme was vast, it wasn't very effective for the black-clothed Zhuowen who had already reached the 3 extremities. Moreover, his main body was currently soaking in the true dragon's blood in the blood pool, so he could only refine the phagocytosis. The phagocytosis had a total of 9,999 seals. Zhuowen had already cracked more than 7,000 seals, but the seals behind were getting harder and harder to crack. Each seal was extremely taxing and time-consuming to crack. Zhuowen had a total of 4 Tao fruits on him. 2 of them had already been refined and integrated into the phagocytosis, while the other 2 were still with him. Now that he had time, Zhuowen planned to integrate the remaining 2 Tao fruits into the phagocytosis. Back then, because too few seals had been cracked on the phagocytosis, and Zhuowen was too weak at the time, he could only integrate 2 Tao fruits at most. Now, more than 7,000 seals had been cracked on the phagocytosis, and Zhuowen's strength was no longer the same as before. Now, it was more than enough to integrate the remaining 2 Tao fruits into the phagocytosis. Thinking of this, the black-clothed Zhuowen sat cross-legged under the Tao tree and bathed in the rich Tao rhyme. Immediately, he formed a seal with both hands and began to refine the remaining 2 Tao fruits. Soon, Zhuowen was surprised to find that under the Tao tree, the refining speed of the Tao fruits was much faster than usual. Thinking of this, Zhuowen immediately sped up the refining speed, and his eyes revealed a look of excitement. Time slowly passed, and 10 days passed. Under the blood tree, the black-clothed Zhuowen stood up. He held the phagocytosis in his right hand, and the 2 Tao fruits had completely disappeared. After 10 days, I finally refined the 2 Tao fruits into the phagocytosis. Zhuowen looked at the rich Tao rhyme on the surface of the phagocytosis in his palm, and his eyes could not hide the excitement in them. At this moment, the power of the phagocytosis was different from before. It was much, much more powerful. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 streams of light swept over the abyss and landed not far from the Tao tree. The 2 figures were the white-clothed youth and the red-clothed middle-aged man. They were naturally Zhuowen's original body and blood scale. In 10 days, the original body and blood scale had absorbed all the true dragon blood in the true dragon blood pool into their bodies. What made Zhuowen sigh was that blood scale was right. The true dragon blood was far more beneficial to blood scale than the original body. Even with 60% of the true dragon blood, Zhuowen could only refine his physique to the level of Devourer King. However, after absorbing 40% of the true dragon blood, blood scale strength had actually recovered to the life and death extremities. This greatly surprised Zhuowen, and he also believed what blood scale had said. It's a Tao tree. I didn't think there would be a Tao tree at the bottom of the cliff. It's a pity that the Tao fruits on this Tao tree have all been plucked, Xuelin said as he looked at the Tao tree behind Zhuowen. The black-clothed Zhuowen slowly landed beside the original body with the phagocytosis in his hand and merged with the original body. Blood scale, can you tell me the specific realms of Tao vindication now? Zhuowen asked Blood scale. Blood scale nodded. Even if Zhuowen hadn't asked, he had planned to tell Zhuowen. After all, he had promised Zhuowen before. In the primitive heaven realm, apart from the shaman race's unique cultivation method, the realms of the other races are no different from the human race. There are 3 steps to Tao vindication, and each step has 3 realms. Bloodscale's voice became deeper as he continued. The first step of Tao vindication has 3 realms: Heavenly Tao Master, Tao Origin Master, and Chaos Origin Master. The second step of Tao vindication also has 3 realms: heavens will master, profound master, and eternal master. I don't know the specific realms of the third step of Tao Vindication, but the third step of Tao Vindication is extremely close to breaking through the heavens. Even in the primitive heaven realm, there are very few third-step Tao Vindication experts. Zhuan's eyes flashed. When he had obtained the first move of the tyrannical Tao slaughtering technique, the slaughtering Tao finger, it had introduced that the slaughtering Tao finger could kill the heavenly Tao master. He had thought that the so-called heavenly Tao master would be very strong, but it turned out that it was only the first realm of the first step of Tao Vindication. However, when he remembered that he hadn't even reached Tao Vindication, Zhuan's spirits were lifted. He knew that the slaughtering Tao finger was actually very powerful. Moreover, the slaughtering Tao finger was only the first move of the 3 moves of the tyrannical Tao slaughtering technique. If Zhuan was lucky enough to find the last 2 moves of the tyrannical Tao slaughtering technique, their power would probably be even more terrifying. Bloodscale, what was your peak cultivation level? Zhuan asked in a deep voice. Bloodscale frowned slightly and sighed. In the primitive heaven realm, my peak cultivation level was only the first step of Tao Vindication. However, I was very close to the second step and was much stronger than the average Chaos Origin Master. Chapter 25-22. Black Smoke Race. After understanding the realm of Tao validation, Zhuan pointed at the Tao tree and asked, Bloodscale, do you have a way to transplant this Tao tree without it dying? Bloodscale glanced at the Tao tree indifferently and said, even if you don't transplant it, this Tao tree will wither in less than 20 years. Zhuan's eyes lit up and he asked why. The reason this Tao tree can grow here should be because of the eyeball from before. If I'm not wrong, that eyeball belongs to an extremely powerful Tao validation expert. Just like ordinary trees, if they don't have nutrients, they will naturally wither and die. This Tao tree is the same. Once the mysterious eyeball leaves the Tao tree, it won't have the Tao aura of a Tao validation expert to nurture it. It's only a matter of time before this Tao tree withers. Of course, you can use the heavenly Tao origin to transplant this Tao tree. Don't you have the heavenly Tao origin on you? Bloodscale glanced at Zhuan and said. Zhuan nodded in understanding, but hesitated. He did have the heavenly Tao origin on him, which was the heavenly Tao origin of the great Brahma domain. However, the heavenly Tao origin was extremely precious. Wouldn't it be a waste to use it to nurture this Tao tree? Bloodscale seemed to have seen through Zhuan's thoughts and sneered. I suggest you transplant the Tao tree into the heavenly Tao origin. You should know that the Tao aura of the Tao fruit condensed by the Tao tree is much purer than the heavenly Tao origin. It's much more effective than using the heavenly Tao origin to cultivate. Zhuan hesitated for a moment before following Bloodscale's suggestion. He planned to transplant the Tao tree into the heavenly Tao origin. One had to know that the Tao fruit had many more uses than the heavenly Tao origin. Moreover, it didn't have as high of a threshold as the heavenly Tao origin. Even if Zhuan hadn't reached Tao validation, the Tao fruit could still be used for cultivation. When the Tao tree was transplanted into the heavenly Tao origin source, Zhuan discovered that not only did the Tao aura on the Tao tree not fade away, it even became stronger. This made Zhuan slightly happy. Moreover, the Tao fruit formed by the blood of the heavenly Tao seemed to have grown a lot after being planted in the heavenly Tao origin. The Tao aura on its surface was also a lot denser. After putting away the Tao tree and heavenly Tao origin, Zhuan looked at Bloodscale and said, there's only a one-way teleportation formation in this small world. It's the same whether you enter or leave. Moreover, the teleportation formation is located in the 6 Desires heavenly domain, which is also the heavenly domain where the door of profundity is located. Bloodscale frowned. Previously, Zhuan had told him that the door of profundity had been destroyed. Then, the heaven domain where the door of profundity was located must have been the first to be attacked by the foreign races from the primitive heaven domain. In fact, Bloodscale didn't want to come close to the door of profundity. His power was severely damaged. If the devouring clan entered the 8 great heavens through the door of profundity, it wouldn't be a good thing for him. Once the devouring clan knew that he was still alive and in the 8 great heavens, they would definitely send a massive force to capture him. As his power hadn't recovered to its peak, Bloodscale didn't want to encounter anyone from the same race. Is there any other exit? Bloodscale probed. No. This time, I plan to visit the door of profundity in the 6 desires heavenly domain. If possible, it's better to seal the coordinates of the door of profundity, said Zhuowen in a low-pitched voice. Bloodscale shook his head. It's just a temporary measure. Sooner or later, more and more races in the primitive heaven domain will know that the door of profundity has been destroyed. Even if you seal the coordinates, it won't work. Paper can't wrap fire. Even if it's just a temporary measure, it could buy me a lot of time, said Zhuowen in a low-pitched voice. Bloodscale didn't say anything else. As he had signed a contract with Zhuowen, of course, he couldn't go against Zhuowen's will. Let's go. Following the memory in his head, Zhuowen continued to move forward. Eventually, they arrived at a desert. A pagoda stood in the middle of the desert. This pagoda was exactly the same as the one at the bottom of the Sun-Moon Lake. It was the one-way teleport formation to leave this small world. Zhuowen landed in front of the pagoda and made a hand seal. After 15 minutes, he activated the teleport formation in the pagoda. White light covered Zhuowen and Bloodscale. Then, the two of them disappeared at their spots. The instant Zhuowen opened his eyes, numerous sonic booms rumbled over. Subsequently, he discovered that many black figures had appeared before him at some unknown time. These shadows were like ghosts, faintly discernible. They rushed toward Zhuowen and Bloodscale. Zhuowen immediately adjusted the angle of his body. Then, he took out the king's sword with his right hand and slashed it around his body. Instantly, terrifying sounds of destruction rang out. Then, the surrounding shadows were smashed into pieces by the terrifying sword aura. After Bloodscale dealt with the surrounding shadows, he came in front of Zhuowen. With a serious look, he said, "It's the Black Smoke Clan." Black Smoke Clan. Zhuowen looked at the distant shadows that were still drifting around. He realized that other than their blood-red eyes, their bodies were indeed faintly discernible black smoke. They didn't have a physical shape at all. The Black Smoke Clan is one of the clans in the Eldritch domain. It's considered a low-level clan. There aren't many experts in the Black Smoke Clan. It's one of the lowest clans in the Eldritch domain. Speaking of the Black Smoke Clan, Bloodscale's eyes revealed a trace of disdain. However, the Black Smoke Clan's reproductive ability is extremely terrifying. Although they're one of the lowest clans in the Eldritch domain, they're an extremely terrifying disaster for the cultivators of the 8 heavens. Bloodscale said indifferently. Zhuowen looked at the densely packed Black Smoke Clan members around him and smiled bitterly. These Black Smoke Clan members were generally at least Su Cheating's level. He hadn't seen anyone below Su Cheating's level yet. Zhuowen even saw a few Life Comprehension Realm Black Smoke Clan members. These clans were the lowest in the Eldritch domain, but in the 8 heavens, they were enough to destroy any force. Even the ruler of the heavens would be entangled with so many Black Smoke Clan members. We can't be entangled by these disgusting fellows. Let's break through first and then leave this place. Otherwise, it'll be very troublesome. As Shuai Lin spoke, he extended his huge claw through the air. Immediately, he tore the incoming Black Smoke clansmen to shreds. Although there were many Black Smoke clan members, the strongest among them were only at the Life Comprehension realm. They weren't much of a threat to Bloodscale. Zhuowen slashed out dozens of times. Terrifying sword chi shot out like a meteor shower. Instantly, the Black Smoke Clan members in front of him were annihilated, clearing out a huge space. Then, Zhuowen immediately took out the space-time wheel and called out to Bloodscale. He rushed through the cleared space in front of him and quickly left the Black Smoke Clan far behind him. After leaving the Black Smoke Clan, Zhuowen didn't go to the door of profundity in the north of the 6 desires heavens. Instead, he went to the Pill Furnace Star Zone. Chapter 25-23. Camouflage along the way. Zhuowen saw countless planets that had become barren and lifeless. He also saw groups of Black Smoke tribe members. When these Black Smoke tribe members saw Zhuowen, they roared and surrounded him. Unfortunately, Zhuowen was too fast. These Black Smoke tribe members simply couldn't catch up with Zhuowen. As he got closer to the Pill Furnace star zone, Zhuowen's gaze turned grave. Everywhere he passed, he saw barren ruins and Black Smoke tribe members. There wasn't even a single human cultivator. It was as if Zhuowen was passing through a dead zone. Zhuowen felt a little guilty when he thought about the Six Desires' heavenly domain's past and compared it to the current state. He knew that he was largely responsible for the Six Desires' heavenly domain becoming a dead zone. If it hadn't been for him, Palace Master Wujue wouldn't have joined forces with the other lords of the heavenly domains to destroy the Door of Profundity and unlock the seal on the Eldritch heavenly domain. Furthermore, from Bloodscale's words, he could tell that this was only the beginning. The Black Smoke tribe was only a relatively low-level tribe in the Eldritch heavenly domain. If the true masters of the Eldritch heavenly domain entered the 8 heavenly domains, it would be useless even if the Six Desires' heavenly domain was completely sealed. Such a seal would be a joke in the eyes of the true masters. Zhuowen's gaze turned completely gloomy when he arrived at the Pill Furnace star zone. At this moment, the huge Pill Furnace star zone was actually covered in darkness. The unique, resplendent beauty of the star zone was nowhere to be seen. At this moment, the Pill Furnace star field no longer had the image of a beautiful star field. Looking from a distance, it looked like a mass of irregular black clouds. Zhuowen couldn't even see a single star in this black cloud. Most of the stars here were dim and lifeless. Zhuowen's gaze landed on the Pill Tower in the center of the star zone. However, he realized that the central area was even more pitch black. Even with his eyesight, he couldn't see if the Pill Tower still existed. "Is this star region your destination?" Bloodscale asked in a low voice. Zhuowen nodded. Then, he looked at the black clouds that covered the surface of the star field and said, "Could these be?" "Yes. All of them are from the Black Smoke clan, and all of them are quite powerful. Furthermore, I have discovered that there may be other Black Smoke clan experts in the depths of this star region," Bloodscale said solemnly. "Could it be a Dao confirming expert?" Zhuowen asked. Bloodscale sneered and said, "The Black Smoke race is just a low-level race in the great desolate heaven realm after all. Do you think it is possible for them to have a Dao validation expert? According to my knowledge, the Patriarch of the Black Smoke clan is only a half-step Heaven Dao Lord, and there's still quite a distance between him and a true Heaven Dao Lord. A mere star region like this shouldn't be enough for the Patriarch of the Black Smoke clan to occupy. However, I can sense the auras of Black Smoke clan experts in the life and death extremities. After all, my strength hasn't recovered yet. With so many Black Smoke clan experts and life and death extremities experts, this should be enough to stall us." Bloodscale didn't say it explicitly, but Zhuowen could hear the hidden meaning in Bloodscale's words. It was extremely unwise for the two of them to barge into the Pill Furnace star region. Zhuowen fell silent. He shook his head and said, "I have to enter this star field. My friend is still in this star field. I want to see if my friend is still alive." Bloodscale said decisively, "You don't need to think about it. Your friends are dead for sure. With so many Black Smoke clan experts, this star region has already become a dead zone. I think you're a smart person, so you should know this." Zhuowen calmly looked at Bloodscale and said, "Yes, I do know this. However, I also know that if I don't go in and see for myself, I will regret it for the rest of my life. I still choose to go in." Bloodscale opened his mouth and looked at Zhuowen in disbelief. He didn't think that this guy would still choose to go in despite knowing the danger. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? "According to the contract, you need to protect my safety. Come with me." Zhuowen's next words immediately caused Shuelin's face to turn completely gloomy. He felt extremely helpless in his heart. Although he had asked Zhuowen to treat him as an equal, he had still been Zhuowen's servant for the past 1,000 years. How could he abandon his master's servant? If he dared to go against Zhuowen's words, he would suffer a terrible backlash from the contract. What are you doing? Suddenly, Zhuowen realized that Bloodscale had unknowingly taken out wisps of black smoke and used them to cover his body. Aren't you courting death if you charge in recklessly? Of course, you have to disguise yourself. Bloodscale glared and waved his sleeve. He immediately took out a large ball of black smoke and handed it to Zhuowen. Zhuowen looked at the black smoke floating in front of him, and his eyelids twitched. Wasn't this black smoke the corpses of the Black Smoke clan members he had killed on his way here? He didn't think that Bloodscale would collect the corpses of the Black Smoke clan members. Speaking of which, the Black Smoke clan was really strange. Except for the pair of scarlet eyes, the rest of their bodies looked like intangible black smoke. If Zhuowen didn't know the identity of the Black Smoke clan members, he would have thought that they were just ordinary black smoke. Your clone is Devour King. Use Devour King's devouring power to swallow the black smoke on the corpses of the Black Smoke clan members and transform it into your body. Our Devouring clan's most gifted talent is devouring. Then, we have imitation. This is something the other clans don't have and can't imitate, Bloodscale said proudly. Zhuowen looked at Bloodscale, who had completely transformed into a member of the Black Smoke clan. His eyes twinkled as he realized that he couldn't see the difference between Bloodscale and the other members of the Black Smoke clan. Moreover, even if he used his soul consciousness to check, he couldn't find the essence of Bloodscale. The Bloodscale in front of him was completely a member of the Black Smoke clan. You probably don't know this technique. I will teach you now. Most members of the Devouring clan know this technique. However, I am Devour King, so my imitation ability is stronger than the other members of the Devouring clan. You're no exception. Bloodscale seemed to remember that Zhuowen's clone was a wandering member of the Devouring clan. He quickly used his soul consciousness to teach Zhuowen the imitation technique. After receiving Bloodscale's soul consciousness, Zhuowen summoned the black-clothed Zhuowen. He put his real body into the clone's internal world and used the devouring power to devour the Black Smoke clan members in front of him. Then, he imitated the aura and appearance of the Black Smoke clan members. A short while later, strands of strange black smoke spread out from all of Zhuowen's acupuncture points. Instantly, Zhuowen was enveloped by the black smoke, turning into a shapeless Black Smoke clan member. Remember, the Black Smoke clan members can't talk. They can only communicate with soul consciousness. If other members of the Black Smoke clan send you soul consciousness, you must not expose yourself. You can use soul consciousness to communicate with them. Bloodscale sent a message to Zhuowen. Chapter 25-24. Sang-gu. After entering the Pill Furnace Starfield, Zhuowen's heart skipped a beat. He realized that the Pill Furnace Starfield was filled with Black Smoke tribe members. Furthermore, these Black Smoke tribe members occupied various planets in the starfield. Zhuowen subconsciously extended his consciousness into a nearby planet, but he realized that there were no other human cultivators on the planet other than the Black Smoke tribe members. However, from the potholes on the surface of the planet, it was clear that an intense battle had taken place on this planet. Get out! The moment Zhuowen's consciousness extended into the planet, a divine thought suddenly rushed over and immediately dispersed Zhuowen's consciousness. Then the thousands of Black Smoke tribe members on the planet all looked over with their scarlet eyes. Among these thousands of Black Smoke tribe members, a Black Smoke tribe member that was obviously much larger walked out. His scarlet eyes were extremely unfriendly as he looked at Zhuowen and Bloodscale, who were passing by his planet. Are you trying to provoke me, Sang-gu? This huge Black Smoke tribe member's divine thought was filled with violence and anger. The two Black Smoke tribe members in front of him were very small, so they were obviously ordinary Black Smoke tribe members. However, one of them actually dared to use his divine thought to check his territory. This made Sang-gu extremely angry and saw it as a provocation. Zhuowen was stunned and looked at Bloodscale with some confusion. Bloodscale helplessly said, "In the Eldritch Heaven domain, no matter which tribe it is, territory is very important. You just used your divine thought without permission, right? No wonder the Black Smoke tribe is so angry. Then what do we do? Zhuowen knew nothing about the Eldritch Heaven domain and could only continue asking. Either you beg for mercy, or you defeat this Black Smoke tribe member and take over this planet, Bloodscale said calmly. While Zhuowen and Bloodscale were talking, the Black Smoke tribe member named Sangu was enraged. The two fellows in front of him had clearly trespassed on his territory. Now, not only were they silent, they were even leisurely conversing with each other. How could Sangu tolerate that? Ignorant fellow, today I will let you know the consequences of offending me, Sangu. Sangu roared and rushed toward Zhuowen. The black smoke around him turned into a huge black hand and smashed toward Zhuowen. The black smoke race was usually in the form of formless black smoke. However, once they started fighting, the black smoke around them would turn into solid energy. They were a very strange race. Zhuowen naturally did not know the attacking techniques of the Black Smoke tribe. He also knew that once he started fighting with Sangu, he would definitely be exposed. Therefore, he did not want to fight with Sangu for a long time. Sangu's strength was at most in the life and lightning realm. Zhuowen's devouring king clone was in the three extremities. Its strength was comparable to the two extremities of life and death. In order to avoid being exposed, Zhuowen did not dare to take the initiative to attack. He could only wait for the moment when Sangu smashed into him. Only then would he make his move. Sangu saw Zhuowen standing there stupidly and laughed proudly. He knew that this Black Smoke tribe member was only good-looking but useless. Didn't you impudently invade my territory with your spirit sense just now? Why are you so dumb now? But that's fine. I'll just kill you and give those who don't know the rules a lesson. Sangu sneered. The black hand whizzed past and instantly landed in front of Zhuowen, reaching into the black smoke. Zhuowen silently looked at the black hand that had entered the black smoke and immediately moved. He clenched the fingers of his right hand into a fist and punched out, colliding with the black hand. Rumble. The terrifying sound of air exploding rang out continuously. Then, the black hand suddenly exploded. An even more terrifying energy followed the black hand and blasted into Sangu's body. Sangu's laughter was still there. He did not even have time to be shocked before he was blasted into pieces by the energy. The thousands of Black Smoke tribe members on the planet were all shocked. Then, their eyes filled with respect. They opened a path for Zhuowen, as if they were welcoming him into the planet. Xuelin took a deep look at Zhuowen. He had not expected Zhuowen's doppelganger to be so powerful. Although Zhuowen had only punched out once, Bloodscale could feel that Zhuowen's clone was no weaker than him. Zhuowen looked at Bloodscale in confusion. Hee, since you've destroyed the conqueror of this planet, you're naturally the new conqueror. The Black Smoke race has submitted to you. You're the new master of this planet, Bloodscale said with a chuckle. Zhuowen nodded in understanding. However, he did not enter the planet. Instead, he said, "Let's go. I have no interest in taking over this planet. But according to what you said, if I want to take over this star field, I just have to defeat the strongest person from the Black Smoke tribe?" Bloodscale nodded and said, "That is indeed the case. However, I can tell you clearly that the Black Smoke tribe's expert who took over this star field is definitely at the two extremities of life and death. It will be very difficult for you to defeat that expert. Moreover, you will definitely be exposed." Zhuowen frowned and said, "Let's go in and take a look. I think it should not be a problem for someone from the Black Smoke tribe to enter the center of this star field, right?" "Yes, let's go in and take a look." Bloodscale agreed. Thus, the two of them gradually ventured deeper into the Pill Furnace star field. Although the Pill Furnace star field had changed beyond recognition, Zhuowen followed his memories and continued to venture deeper into the Pill Tower. This time, Zhuowen was also being smart. He did not dare to use his divine sense to casually scan the planets they passed by. Otherwise, it would be easy for the ruler of the planet to view it as a provocation. When that happened, it would be another round of trouble. This was not what Zhuowen wanted. Soon, the two of them arrived at the core of the Pill Furnace star field, Pill Furnace City. There were even more Black Smoke tribe members in Pill Furnace City. The vast continent was basically filled with them. Moreover, the overall strength of the Black Smoke tribe here was much stronger than the Black Smoke tribe on the planets they passed by. Zhuowen's gaze fell on the symbolic Pill Tower in the center of Pill Furnace City. He was surprised to find that the Pill Tower was currently surrounded by 8 different colored flames. These 8 flames were integrated and intertwined with each other. They were like the most responsible guards that surrounded the Pill Tower. At this moment, the Pill Tower was surrounded by many Black Smoke tribe members. These Black Smoke tribe members were attacking the flames without any regard for their lives. However, most of them were afraid of the flames. Those with insufficient cultivation were directly turned into dregs by the flames. Although these Black Smoke tribe members were afraid of the flames, they still attacked the flames without any regard for their own safety. They did not care even if they were to die. Zhuowen's gaze fell on a huge Black Smoke tribe member at the top of the Pill Tower. This Black Smoke tribe member's aura was much stronger than the others. Chapter 25-25. Sanguine narrowed his eyes and sized up this Black Smoke tribe member. He found that this Black Smoke tribe member was actually at the life and death extremes. He was probably the leader of the Black Smoke tribe that occupied the Pill Furnace starfield. At the same time, Zhuowen sighed in relief. Since the Pill Tower was surrounded by a defensive fire formation, it meant that the second elder was still fine. However, Zhuowen could see that the fire formation was on the verge of collapse. It probably wouldn't last much longer. Once the formation was broken, none of the cultivators inside the Pill Tower would be spared. At that time, Zhuowen wouldn't be able to save them. Zhuowen knew that if he wanted to save the Pill Tower, he had to use Bloodscale's method to defeat the leader and become the new leader of the starfield. The Black Smoke tribe member floating at the top of the Pill Tower slowly turned his head and coldly glanced at Zhuowen and Bloodscale, who had just entered Pill Furnace City. After discovering that these two were ordinary Black Smoke tribe members, he ignored them. His territory never accepted trash. These 2 ordinary Black Smoke tribe members didn't have the right to enter his territory. Of course, he was the high and mighty leader. He naturally wouldn't care about these 2 ants. There would naturally be people at the entrance to stop these 2 ants. As expected, when Zhuowen and Bloodscale reached the entrance, they were stopped by 2 Black Smoke tribe members who were guarding the entrance. Then, they transmitted an extremely unfriendly spirit. Scram. This is the Great Lord San Guo's territory. You 2 trash aren't qualified to enter. Zhuowen turned his head to look at the Black Smoke race member who sent out the unfriendly message. He sneered and replied, I want to enter this place. You don't have the right to tell me what to do. Even if Sagua came personally, I would still beat him down. Zhuowen's reply wasn't small. At least, the Black Smoke tribe members in Pill Furnace City heard it clearly. Their gazes all gathered on Zhuowen at the entrance. Even the Black Smoke race, who had been ordered by Sagua to attack the Pill Tower, stopped attacking and looked curiously at Zhuowen. Clearly, no one had expected that an ordinary member of the Black Smoke tribe would have the guts to speak so rudely in Sagua's territory. Sagua narrowed his scarlet eyes, coldly sizing up Zhuowen at the door. He was the leader of this galaxy, and no one could replace him. This was the first time he had heard of such an audacious Black Smoke clan ever since he had taken over this galaxy. Of course, he didn't make a move. As far as he was concerned, this ant was simply courting death, and his subordinates would ruthlessly torture this ant to death. Sure enough, the Black Smoke race guard was only momentarily stunned when Zhuowen uttered those harsh words. Soon after, he furiously attacked. Ignorant fool! How dare you behave so atrociously in the territory of the great Sagua? Today, I will destroy you. The Black Smoke race guard sneered. He took a step forward, and the black smoke around him boiled violently, transforming into a huge black blade that slashed directly at Zhuowen. Zhuowen silently looked at the Black Smoke race guard. He still didn't take the initiative to attack. After all, he knew that if he did, he would easily be exposed. Zhuowen's actions immediately caused the surrounding Black Smoke tribe members to roar with laughter. Many of them secretly despised this black smoke tribe member who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. He was actually courting death. When the black smoke race guard's long blade landed on Wen's body, Wen also punched out. His fist smashed into the long blade, shattering it with a single punch. Terrifying energy flowed along the blade and landed on the black smoke race guard's body. Then, the black smoke race guard didn't even make a sound before he was blown to smithereens. The black smoke race guard's strength was even weaker than the black smoke race that Zhuan had encountered before. Destroying this black smoke race guard was no problem for Zhuan. The black smoke race in Pill Furnace City were all stunned. They watched in disbelief as the black smoke race guard was blown to smithereens right in front of them. Then, they looked at Zhuan with respect. No matter where it was, the strong were fated to be respected by others. Whether it was the human race or the black smoke race, the strong preyed on the weak. This was a very normal phenomenon. Now that Zhuan had killed the black smoke race guard with a single punch, he naturally received the respect of the other black smoke race guards. Guosan, who was originally floating above the pill tower, narrowed his scarlet eyes. His gaze once again landed on Zhuo as he observed the latter from head to toe. Clearly, he was surprised that the latter had actually suddenly erupted and killed the Black Smoke Tribe's gatekeeper. "You're not bad. You have the right to enter my territory and serve me." Sagwa looked at him for a while before finally speaking. His voice was full of dignity and unquestionable authority. The Black Smoke race of Pill Furnace City looked at Zhuan with envy. They knew very well that if Sagwa personally accepted someone from the Black Smoke race, they would be recognized by Sagwa and valued by him. When the time came, the Black Smoke race's status would be limitless. Zhuan sneered in his heart, but didn't answer Sagwa. Instead, he swaggered into Pill Furnace City with Bloodscale. Sagwa stared coldly at Zhuan. He was very unhappy that Zhuan had ignored him. Just as he was about to speak, Zhuan stood in front of the pill tower and took the initiative to speak. "Sagwa, I don't want to become your subordinate," Zhuan said flatly. Sagwa frowned and snorted. He sent out an unfriendly spirit force. "Then what do you want?" "I want this entire starfield," Zhuan said flatly. Sagwa's eyes narrowed when he heard this. The Black Smoke race of Pill Furnace City was in an uproar. None of the Black Smoke race thought that the Black Smoke race that had just entered Pill Furnace City would not only destroy the Black Smoke race guarding the gate, but also want to challenge the master of this starfield, Sagwa. "You want to challenge me?" Sagwa's spirit force was filled with murderous intent. Ever since he had taken over Pill Furnace Starfield, no one had dared to provoke him like this. Now that someone had done so in front of so many people, Sagwa's expression turned ugly. "Then you will regret it." Sagwa snorted coldly and grabbed a purple hand from the black smoke. This purple hand wasn't big, but it had a terrifying aura that could shake heaven and earth. When the purple hand came down, the Black Smoke race of Pill Furnace City all showed fear in their eyes. They retreated, not daring to get close to this purple hand. "You're the one who provoked this. Don't call me in. You're on your own." Bloodscale, who was standing next to Zhuan, took a few steps back after sending the message. He obviously wouldn't interfere with the battle between Zhuan and Sagwa. Zhuan glanced at Bloodscale, who was retreating but didn't say anything. He wanted to face Sagwa alone, so he didn't want Bloodscale to stay. Chapter 25-26. Challenging Sagwa Rumble. Terrifying shockwaves spread out in all directions. Zhuan frowned and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Sagwa, on the other hand, remained motionless in the air. The collision just now had no effect on him. Zhuan knew that he was at a disadvantage this time because he was worried about exposing his identity and couldn't use his full strength. After all, once he was exposed, the entire Black Smoke Tribe in the Pill Furnace Star Zone would attack him together. They wouldn't give him a chance to fight Sagwa alone. Sagwa looked at him with disdain and said, "I thought you were strong. I didn't expect you to be so useless." Zhuan didn't seem to hear Sagwa's mockery. He said nonchalantly, "Fight me outside if you have the ability." With that, Zhuan leaped out and left the pill furnace city. He headed toward the remote, starry sky in the north of the pill furnace star zone. This was the Black Smoke Tribe's nest. If he fought here, there would be too many people and it would be too easy for him to be exposed. Hence, he had to choose a remote place to fight with his full strength. Sagwa didn't suspect him at all. Perhaps the fight just now made him feel that the Black Smoke Tribe was quite strong, but they were still too weak compared to him. Hence, he followed Suemo. After Zhuan and Sagwa left the pill furnace city, the Black Smoke Tribe in the city didn't follow. In their eyes, this was a battle for the leader. It was sacred, and they didn't have the right to follow. On the 10th level of the pill tower, 8 figures sat cross-legged. 8 different colored flames surged from their bodies. These 8 flames rushed to the top of the tower and gathered around the tower, forming a protective flame barrier. Needless to say, these 8 figures were the 8 great elders of the pill tower. The second elder suddenly opened his eyes and said in surprise, "The Black Smoke Tribe stopped attacking the pill tower?" The other 7 elders also opened their eyes. Their eyes were filled with confusion. Clearly, they were the same as the second elder. "Let's see what's happening outside." The second elder made a prompt decision and waved his sleeve. Immediately, the flame in the sky clearly revealed an image. This image showed what was happening outside the pill tower. From the moment Zhua entered Pill Furnace City to the moment Zhuan and Sagwa left Pill Furnace City, the 8 elders had seen everything that had happened. Looks like a fierce person has appeared in the Black Smoke race. Now, he's challenging the Black Smoke expert who occupied Pill Furnace City. The 7th elder sighed. They had been here for far too long. Every day, they faced the endless attacks of the Black Smoke Tribe. Even though the pill tower had an abundance of divine pills, the 8 elders still felt immense pressure. They knew they couldn't hold on for much longer. Now that the Black Smoke Tribe had stopped attacking, it was undoubtedly a timely reign for them. The second elder smiled bitterly and said, "After the Black Smoke Tribe is destroyed by Sagwa, they will continue to attack the pill tower. Our fate has already been decided." As soon as the second elder said this, the other 7 elders fell silent. Most of the geniuses and experts of the Pill Furnace Star Field lived in the pill tower. However, they knew that these experts weren't enough to deal with the Black Smoke Tribe. Once the pill tower was destroyed, all the cultivators inside would die, including the 8 elders. Several hours later, Zhuan stopped at an extremely remote region in the northern region of the Pill Furnace Galaxy. There were basically no other Black Smoke Tribe members in this region. Zhuan was very satisfied with this region. This is a good place to destroy the corpse. Looks like you've already chosen a place to bury yourself. Sagwa landed not far behind Zhuan and said without any trace of politeness. Zhuan turned around and glanced at Sagwa nonchalantly. "This is where you will be buried." With that, Zhuan took out the phagocytosis and took a step forward. The phagocytosis expanded to thousands of feet in size. It was like a mountain as it slammed into Sagwa's head. The moment Sagwa saw the phagocytosis, he frowned. He realized that the phagocytosis wasn't a materialization of the Black Smoke Tribe's black smoke energy. Instead, it was more like a divine artifact of the human race. However, Sagwa didn't think too much about it. He sneered, and the black smoke around him transformed into a long spear. 2 purple hands appeared and grabbed the long spear. It was like a rainbow piercing through the sun as it pierced towards the phagocytosis. Bang! Countless sparks exploded. The phagocytosis was pushed back a distance by the long spear. Sagwa himself was also pushed back by the energy. He frowned and looked at Zhuan, who was holding the phagocytosis, in surprise. At this moment, Zhuan's strength was completely different from before. Wasn't he much stronger than when he was easily defeated by him? "Looks like you've been hiding part of your strength." Sagwa's eyes were gloomy. He took a step forward and waved the long spear in his purple hands. It turned into a sky full of spear shadows and formed a strong whirlpool of killing intent that engulfed Zhuan. Zhuan heaved a sigh of relief. Sagwa's strength wasn't very strong. He should be at the early stage of the two extremities of life and death. He was much weaker than Palace Master Wujua. Now that his doppelganger had reached the three extremities, he wasn't even afraid of Sakyamuni, let alone Sagwa, who was even weaker than Palace Master Wujua. However, an expert at the two extremities of life and death wasn't that easy to kill. Zhuan believed that he could easily defeat Sagwa, but it would be difficult to kill him. However, Zhuan had already prepared a backup plan. The reason why he had lured Sagwa to such a remote space was to prepare for that backup plan. Bang! Zhuan once again summoned the phagocytosis. It collided with Sagwa's long spear. Sparks flew everywhere and exploded in space. Suddenly, the two of them started fighting. The terrifying shockwaves spread out and formed terrifying ripples in the surrounding space. Many of the Black Smoke tribe members hid far away. They didn't even dare to use their divine consciousness to observe. They just watched from afar. They knew that this battle was about the leader of the star field. The winner would become the new leader of the star field. According to the rules, they had to submit to the new leader. However, none of the Black Smoke tribe members noticed that in the space where Zhuan and Sagwa were fighting, there was an obscure figure moving around. If one looked closely, it was a white-robed youth. However, the white-robed youth's aura was hidden to the extreme. If one didn't use their divine consciousness to check carefully, they wouldn't be able to discover this white-robed youth. Now, most of the Black Smoke tribe members were watching the battle from afar. They didn't even dare to use their divine consciousness. How could they discover this white-robed youth hiding in the space crack? As for Sagwa, all of his attention was focused on Zhuan. It was even more impossible for him to notice this white-robed youth with an obscure aura. The white-robed youth was Zhuan's original body. When Zhuan lured Sagwa to this remote space, his doppelganger secretly released his original body and hid it in space. When his doppelganger and Sagwa were fighting, his original body quietly came out. Zhuan's original body looked at Sagwa and his doppelganger, who were still fighting. His eyes flashed, revealing a serious expression. He knew very well that his doppelganger was very powerful. If he revealed his trump card, Sagwa would definitely realize that something was wrong. Then, Sagwa would definitely escape. As long as Sagwa escaped, Sagwa would expose the fact that Zhuan wasn't from the Black Smoke tribe. At that time, Zhuan would have to face the entire Black Smoke tribe in the star field. This wouldn't be good for Zhuan. Chapter 25-27. Killing Sagwa had secretly set up multiple level 9 trap and kill arrays in the surrounding space. Now that Zhuan was a level 9 divine array master, setting up a level 9 trap and kill array was a piece of cake for him. After setting up the level 9 trap and kill array, Zhuan's original body slowly hid in the starry sky and blended into it. Boom, boom, boom. The battle between Zhuan and Sagwa became more and more intense. The surrounding space was shattered and destroyed, and the Black Smoke tribe members who were watching from afar revealed looks of respect. Of course, the respect in their eyes wasn't directed at Sagwa, but at Zhuan. Sagwa was the leader of their star field, but this new member of the Black Smoke tribe could actually fight with their leader to such an extent. Clearly, this Black Smoke tribe member was extraordinary. Bang! There was another intense collision. Zhuan held onto the phagocytosis and leaped back, increasing the distance between him and Sagwa. Sagwa also hurriedly retreated, but his hands formed from black smoke were on the verge of collapse, and countless cracks had appeared on the surface of his long spear. On the other hand, Zhuan was full of energy and didn't show any signs of depression. It was obvious that Zhuan had the absolute upper hand in the battle just now. Sagwa's eyes were filled with fear and seriousness. He coldly stared at the phagocytosis in Zhuan's hands and said, "What kind of technique is this? This isn't the Black Smoke tribe's way of attacking." Zhuan narrowed his eyes. He knew that Sagwa had indeed discovered something amiss during the battle just now. Zhuan didn't answer Sagwa's question. Instead, he took a step forward like the wind and threw the phagocytosis at Sagwa. He knew very well that if he answered Sagwa's question now, it would only leave him with more flaws. Therefore, he had to get rid of Sagwa before he could react. At the same time, the moment Zhuan threw out the phagocytosis, endless black fog burst out from his body. In just an instant, the black fog enveloped the surrounding space. Zhuan and Sagwa's figures were completely engulfed by the black fog. Within the black fog, Sagwa's expression changed. He vaguely guessed Zhuan's intention. Then he realized that in front of the black fog was a human in black. "You're not from the Black Smoke tribe? You're from the human race." The moment Sagwa saw Zhuan, his pupils shrank, and he couldn't help but shriek. From the beginning, he had felt that something was amiss. Zhuan appeared in his mind's words. Was Zhuan from the Black Smoke tribe? Of Shou Zhuan's Fongs of. It turned out that the strange Black Smoke tribe in front of him was a human in disguise. Sagwa couldn't figure out. If this human was pretending to be from the Black Smoke tribe, he would be able to see through the flaws very quickly. But how could this human in front of him be able to disguise himself so perfectly? Although Sagwa was suspicious, now was not the time for him to think about it. Zhuan's attack was coming. Black fog burst out from Sagwa's body. Then, he turned into a 30-meter-tall giant. The giant held a huge, double-edged axe in both hands and swung it at Zhuan with a roar. The double-edged axe cut through space and produced a terrifying whistling sound. Even Zhuan was moved. Boom! The double-edged axe and the phagocytosis smashed together. The surrounding black fog rolled like a tsunami in the sea. Zhuan groaned. He flipped the phagocytosis over and immediately used the soul kill. His powerful consciousness turned into a terrifying whirlpool of killing intent. It crashed into Sagwa's mind, causing him to scream in pain. His body stopped moving for a moment. Zhuan seized this opportunity and smashed his fist onto the 30-meter-tall giant's body. Extreme fire, extreme thunder, and extreme wind, the three types of extreme energy, turned into three directions and blasted into Sagwa's body with great coordination. Boom! Boom! A thunderous sound kept ringing out from Sagwa's body. The Tinjiang-tall giant that Sagwa had transformed into burst out a terrifying black fog. Then, the Tinjiang-tall giant's body exploded into formless black smoke. The moment the giant exploded into black smoke, Sagwa let out a blood-curdling scream. Soon after, the black smoke condensed into a tiny black needle and fled towards the back. Its speed was so fast that even Zhuan did not have time to react before it was already far away. Zhuan's eyes flashed. He sneered and immediately activated the Level 9 trap and kill array. These Level 9 trap and kill arrays were set up at the edge of the black fog. Zhuan had already planned for this. Bang! When Sagwa's black needle was about to leave the edge of the black fog, a transparent energy barrier appeared in front of Sagwa and blocked the black needle. Bastard human, what are you trying to do? When Sagwa realized that there was a Level 9 trap and kill array at the edge of the black fog, his eyes were filled with despair. He turned back into black smoke and stared at Zhuan with his scarlet eyes. Zhuan walked over slowly and said, "My friends are in the Pill Pagoda. You want to break open the Pill Pagoda and kill my friends. What do you think I want to do?" Sagwa's eyes flashed. He quickly said, "Since your friends are in the Pill Pagoda, I will leave immediately. I won't cause any trouble for you and your friends." Zhuan sneered, "I don't believe you. I'd rather believe a dead person." With that, Zhuan's eyes flashed with intense killing intent. He immediately summoned the phagocytosis and smashed it at Sagwa. At the same time, Zhuan's original body appeared silently in the black fog. He formed a seal with both hands, and the trap and kill array was immediately activated. The black-clothed Zhuan followed the phagocytosis and punched out again. The boundless extreme fire energy turned into a fire dragon and swallowed Sagwa. Sagwa could only passively resist. Unfortunately, the extreme fire energy was quite effective against him. Just as he blocked the extreme fire energy, he groaned, his voice filled with pain. Boom! The phagocytosis also smashed over, causing Sagua's injuries to worsen. The trap and kill array's boundless killing intent poured onto Sagua. Zhuowen silently looked at Sagua, who was barely holding on. He knew that Sagua wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. Whether it was the phagocytosis, the extreme fire energy, or the level 9 trap and kill array, they were all enough to threaten the extreme realm of life and death. Now that all three were used together, even Palace Master Wujua might die, let alone Sagua, who was only at the initial stage of the extreme realm of life and death. Sure enough, after a while, a blood-curdling scream was heard. Sagua was completely annihilated under the attacks of the three major techniques, completely disappearing from this world. Chapter 25-28. Proof. When the black fog dissipated and Zhuowen walked out, the countless black smoke tribe members who were watching from afar were stunned. Then, an uproar broke out. Zhuowen had appeared, while Sagua had disappeared. Everyone knew that Sagua had lost the battle for the position of leader. The price Sagua had to pay was to disappear from this world forever. When Zhuowen returned to Pill Furnace City, the core of the Pill Furnace Starfield, countless black smoke tribe members lowered their heads, their scarlet eyes filled with reverence. They knew that they were about to welcome their new leader. At this moment, they naturally threw Sagua to the back of their minds. Zhuowen looked at the countless black smoke tribe members in Pill Furnace City and sighed inwardly. The black smoke tribe was indeed realistic. In the black smoke tribe, only the strong reigned supreme. There were no rules at all. As long as you were strong enough, you would be the boss and could do whatever you wanted. Bloodscale landed in front of Zhuowen and sized him up. His eyes were filled with dread. He hadn't expected that Zhuowen had hidden such great strength. Even Xuelin knew that if he were to face Sagua, he would still be able to defeat him. However, if he wanted to kill Sagua, he would have to go through a lot of trouble. He wouldn't be able to kill Sagua as quickly as Zhuowen. Of course, if Bloodscale knew that Zhuowen had set up a grade 9 death trap array in advance, he wouldn't have been so surprised. A grade 9 death trap array was very effective against life and death stage experts. Moreover, Zhuowen's strength was above Sagua's, so it made sense that he could kill Sagua so quickly. Let's go. Zhuowen glanced indifferently at Bloodscale, whose eyes were filled with dread, and landed in front of the pill tower. The members of the Black Smoke tribe lowered their heads and didn't dare to make sound. This was a powerful existence that killed Sagua, so how could they resist? At this moment, the 8 colored flames around the pill tower were still burning fiercely. The Black Smoke race who had originally attacked the pill tower all stood on the side of the pill tower. They only dared to steal glances at Zhuowen, but their hearts were filled with sighs. They knew that the new leader would probably be the same as Sagua. He would make them attack the Pill Pagoda in a suicidal manner. One had to know that the Black Smoke race was most afraid of extremely hot flames. Attacking the Pill Pagoda's fiery defensive array in such a frenzied manner would only end in their deaths. However, they knew that they couldn't disobey their new leader. If their new leader wanted them to continue attacking the Pill Tower, they could only do so. Everyone from Pill Furnace City, get the hell out. I like peace and quiet, I don't like noisy crowds. If anyone dares to enter Pill Furnace City, I'll kill them. A tyrannical divine sense swept out like a hurricane, covering the entire Pill Furnace City. The members of the Black Smoke race who were still in Pill Furnace City were stunned. They immediately understood and rushed out, leaving the city. The members of the Black Smoke race who had been told to only attack the Pill Tower were relieved of a heavy burden. They bowed deeply towards Zhuowen and left Pill Furnace City as well. Before long, the noisy Pill Furnace City became extremely quiet. Only Zhuowen and Bloodscale remained. On the 10th floor of the Pill Tower, the 8 elders in charge of the fiery defensive array also saw the members of the Black Smoke race leave one after another. They were all surprised. The new Black Smoke race must have defeated Sagua and become the new leader of the Star Domain. However, this new leader is really strange. He actually dismissed all the Black Smoke race in Pill Furnace City, the second elder said in surprise. The eyes of the seventh elder flickered. Second elder, we can't last for long. The new leader just happened to dismiss all the black smoke race in Pill Furnace City. As long as we work together, we might be able to eliminate this leader. The moment the seventh elder suggested this, the other elders nodded in agreement. Their main fear was that the Black Smoke tribe would join forces and attack them. After all, there were just too many of them. They weren't weak either. If they worked together, even 100 pill towers wouldn't be able to stop them. Now that there were only 2 members of the Black Smoke race left in Pill Furnace City, it was naturally an opportunity for them. The second elder firmly objected. No, you all know how strong Sagwa is. He's an expert who's barely reached the 2 extremes of life and death. If the Black Smoke race can defeat Sagwa and become the new leader, their strength is unfathomable. We can't take the risk. The other elders only came to their senses after hearing the second elder's words. They thought about it and felt that the second elder's words were correct. Among the 8 of them, only the second elder was slightly stronger. However, he was only half-step illusionary Sky Knight step. Even if the 8 of them were proficient in joint attacks, they could only defeat life and lightning realm experts. Against life and death realm experts, it was useless even if the 8 of them worked together. How would we know if we don't try? The 7th elder said unhappily. The second elder looked at the 7th elder solemnly. Just as he was about to scold him, he suddenly paused, and his eyes revealed a look of ecstasy. What's wrong? The other elders looked at the second elder in surprise and asked curiously. Hurry up and open the 8-colored flame array, the second elder blurted out. The other 7 elders looked at the second elder strangely. They all subconsciously thought that the second elder was talking nonsense. Second elder, what are you saying? If we open the 8-colored flame array, won't we let the 2 members of the Black Smoke race into the pill tower? The 7th elder said with a frown. I'm going to let them in. Hurry up and open the 8-colored flame array, the second elder said with ecstasy. This time, even the 7th elder's expression turned ugly. Just as he was about to speak, the second elder hurriedly added, the 2 members of the Black Smoke race are on our side. One of them is Zhuowen. He's here to save us. The other 7 elders were shocked. Among them, the 7th elder said in disbelief, Second elder, did the Black Smoke race send you a message? How can you believe the Black Smoke race is nonsense? The second elder calmed down and said, I'm sure it's Zhuowen because he mentioned the alchemy fire. Apart from the 8 of us here, only Zhuowen knows that the alchemy fire is with Zhuowen. The other elders were moved, but the 7th elder still said unhappily, it's hard to guarantee that this matter won't be leaked. If the Black Smoke race finds out, they might be digging a hole for us to jump into. Unless he can take out the alchemy fire as proof. The second elder frowned slightly. He understood the 7th elder's caution, so he sent a message to Zhuowen. Standing outside the pill tower, Zhuowen also received the second elder's message and took out the alchemy fire. Chapter 25-29. Black Smoke King. Not long after Zhuowen took out the alchemy fire, the 8-colored flames on the surface of the pill pagoda gradually dissipated, revealing the original appearance of the pill pagoda. Zhuowen put away the alchemy fire and did not immediately enter the pill pagoda. Instead, he set up a powerful restriction around the area. After setting up the restriction, the second elder led the other 7 elders down the pill pagoda. Zhuowen. The second elder looked at Zhuowen, who was shrouded in black smoke, and asked with uncertainty. Second elder, long time no see. Let's go in first. It's not convenient to talk here. Bloodscale, you stand guard outside the pill pagoda. If anything happens, send me a message immediately. Zhuowen instructed Bloodscale, then followed the second elder into the pill pagoda. On the 10th floor of the pill pagoda, Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and the black smoke around him dispersed, revealing a black-robed Zhuowen. The alchemy fire was lying lazily on his shoulder. When the second elder and the others saw that it was really Zhuowen, they all heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were shocked by Zhuan's strength. The leader of the Black Smoke clan, Sagwa, had the strength of the two extremes of life and death. Zhuan could actually defeat Sagwa and become the new leader. It was obvious how powerful Zhuan was now. "Zhui Xiaoyu, did you defeat Sak?" the second elder asked with uncertainty. Zhuan nodded and said without batting an eyelid, "I killed Sagwa." When these words came out, the 8 elders all sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Zhuan in a daze. The second elder smiled bitterly and said, "Zhui Xiaoyu, your progress is too fast." Zhuan was extremely calm. He knew that his rapid progress was not a fluke, but an opportunity that he had obtained by risking his life time and time again. "Let's not talk about this. By the way, second elder, is your pill pagoda the only one that survived in the entire 6 Desires heavenly realm?" Zhuan asked. The second elder shook his head and said, "It should not be just our pill pagoda. There are other forces, but they're not much better than our pill pagoda. Sai, there are too many members of the Black Smoke clan. 50 years ago, there weren't many of them. After 50 years of development, these monsters have spread heavenly realm. They have caused the current disaster." Zhuan nodded his head. Although he wanted to help the other powers in the heaven region, he knew that this was not realistic. Right now, he didn't even know how to save the people from the Pill Tower, let alone the other powers. Realm 6 Heavenly Realm. He Zhuan, Lu Zio and Lu Realm Lu in the heavens he was. "Second elder, if you believe me, you can stay in my inner world for a while. After I leave the 6 Desires Heavenly Realm, I will take you out of the 6 Desires Heavenly Realm." As he spoke, Zhuan waved his sleeve. Immediately, a black vortex appeared beside his right hand. He continued, "This vortex leads to the world within my body. Don't worry, it's very safe inside. Moreover, it's very large." The second elder glanced at the whirlpool and said, "Zhui Xiaoyu, thank you. There are not only 8 of us in the Pill Pagoda. There are also many cultivators from the Pill Furnace Galaxy. It's no problem. My inner world is very big. It can accommodate everyone in the Pill Pagoda." Zhuan said with a smile, "That's good. I will go and arrange it now. Wait a moment." The second elder stood up with a happy smile on his face. Then he led the other elders to the Pill Pagoda to gather the cultivators who were hiding in the Pill Pagoda. Soon, under the second elder's guidance, the cultivators entered the devouring whirlpool one by one. Zhuan's inner world contained many planets with life. Zhuan deliberately chose a relatively remote and uninhabited planet to accommodate the cultivators in the Pill Pagoda. He also set up a barrier on that planet to prevent these cultivators from exploring the mysteries of his inner world. Although Zhuan trusted the second elder, he did not trust the cultivators hiding in the Pill Pagoda. After spending half a day, the second elder sent all the cultivators in the Pill Pagoda into his inner world. Then he cupped his hands and said gratefully to Zhuan, "Zhui Xiaoyu, if we are saved this time, I really have to thank you." After saying this, the second elder glanced at the pill fire lying on Zhuan's shoulder. Then he smiled bitterly and said, "Zhui Xiaoyu, I see that the pill fire is fated to be with you. In the future, you can keep the pill fire with you. There is no need to return it to the Pill Pagoda." After saying this, the second elder took out several jade slips and handed them to Zhuan. He said seriously, "These jade slips record the main knowledge of the pill Tao, the refining method, and my many years of experience in refining pills. Perhaps Zhui Xiaoyu will find it useful. Take it as a reward for saving our Pill Pagoda." Zhuan accepted the jade slips with joy. Zhuan had wanted to learn about the pill Tao for a long time, but he was too embarrassed to ask the second elder. When he was in the Heavenly Armor Continent, Zhuan had only scratched the surface of the pill Tao. He even relied on the Fushi Cauldron to refine pills. He himself was completely ignorant. After leaving the Heavenly Armor Continent, Zhuan came into contact with the Array Tao. Thus, he began to comprehend the Array Tao step by step. He studied the Array Tao until he became a level 9 Array Tao Divine Master. Although he also wanted to study the Alchemy Tao, even in the starry skies, there were very few records about the alchemy Tao. Moreover, the Pill Furnace Starfield was a rare place that had developed the alchemy Tao to such an extent. Therefore, why wouldn't Zhua Wenru drool over the Pill Furnace Starfield's alchemy Tao, now that the second elder had directly offered the Pill Tao to him? How could Zhuan not be excited and happy? Many thanks, second elder, Zhuan hurriedly said. The second elder smiled and said, I should be the one thanking you. After saying this, the second elder entered the devouring whirlpool. He was the last one to enter the devouring whirlpool. After putting away the devouring whirlpool, Zhuan immediately received a message from Bloodscale. His expression changed drastically. He released the black smoke again and covered his body. Then he walked out of the Pill Pagoda. What's wrong? When Zhuan walked out of the Pill Pagoda, he saw a member of the Black Smoke Tribe standing beside Bloodscale. This member of the Black Smoke Tribe was standing to the side in an extremely respectful manner. When he saw Zhuan come out, he immediately bowed and saluted. The Black Smoke King has come to inspect. We must go and receive him. Bloodscale helplessly transmitted. Zhuan's gaze moved slightly. Bloodscale had told him about the Black Smoke King before. He was the king of the Black Smoke Tribe, just like the king of the Devouring Clan. Only the strongest of the entire tribe could be crowned as king. Zhuan did not expect that the Black Smoke King would suddenly come to inspect this place. Could it be that he had discovered something wrong? However, that was not right. He had just defeated Sagwa not long ago. Logically speaking, the Black Smoke King could not have received the news so quickly. Let's go and take a look first. As Zhuan spoke, he hurriedly left Pill Furnace City with Bloodscale. The member of the Black Smoke Tribe who had come to inform him respectfully followed behind. They swept to the edge of the Pill Furnace Galaxy. Everywhere they passed, the members of the Black Smoke Tribe looked at Zhuan with reverence. Floating at the edge of the Pill Furnace Galaxy, Zhuan looked into the distant starry sky. There, a black light swept over. Its speed was extremely fast, and it quickly landed not far in front of the galaxy. Chapter 25:30. Not good. After the black shuttle stopped not too far away, it suddenly dispersed in a thick black smoke. This black smoke was not the incomparably black smoke of the ordinary black smoke race. Instead, there was a trace of grayish-white within the black smoke, which looked somewhat horrifying. Soon after, the black smoke reformed into a middle-aged man with grayish-white hair. The middle-aged man before them was basically the same as a human from head to toe. The only difference was his grayish-white hair. The grayish-white hair on the middle-aged man's head was extremely strange. It was not in the shape of hair, but in the shape of smoke. When the middle-aged man appeared, the Black Smoke race member behind Zhuan immediately prostrated himself on the ground. He trembled as he said in a trembling voice, "Greetings, my king." It was not just this Black Smoke race member. The Black Smoke race members in the distant star field all prostrated themselves on the ground. Their eyes were filled with fear and reverence. Zhuan and Bloodscale stood side by side. When they saw the middle-aged man walking over, they merely bowed in respect. Zhuan was not from the Black Smoke race. Furthermore, given his personality, he naturally would not prostrate himself on the ground in front of others. This was not in line with his character. As for Bloodscale, that was even more impossible. This Bloodscale was the previous devouring king of the devouring race. His status was much higher than this Black Smoke King's. Now that he saw the Black Smoke King, it would be strange if he knelt down. The Black Smoke King slowly walked over and looked at Zhuan and Bloodscale, who merely bowed. However, he did not get angry. Instead, he said indifferently, "You were the one who killed Sagwa and snatched the position of leader of this star field." Zhuan's heart tightened. He could clearly feel that after the Black Smoke King finished speaking, an intense murderous intent locked onto him. It caused all the hair on his body to stand on end. So strong, Zhuan exclaimed in his heart. Just the murderous intent released by the Black Smoke King made him feel as if it was difficult to resist. He knew that the Black Smoke King's strength was much stronger than Sagwa's. In fact, He was much stronger than Zhuan himself. Previously, Bloodscale had said that the Black Smoke King's strength should only be at the level of a half-step Heavenly Pathmaster. He was still quite a distance away from the true Dao validation. He was merely a half-step Heavenly Dao Lord, yet he was able to give him such immense pressure. What if he was a true Heavenly Dao Lord? Thinking of this, Zhuan knew that he was just a frog at the bottom of a well. Compared to the true experts of the Great Desolate Heavenly Domain and the Xianmi Heavenly Domain, his cultivation was really insignificant. However, Zhuan also knew that he had unlimited possibilities. Who could guarantee that he would not reach such heights in the future? Thinking of this, Zhuan abruptly raised his eyes and met the Black Smoke King's gaze without any hesitation. After sensing the terrifying killing intent of the Black Smoke King, Zhuan knew that he was no match for the Black Smoke King. However, if the Black Smoke King wanted to kill him, it would not be that easy. Therefore, Zhuan did not need to fear the Black Smoke King. The Black Smoke King glanced at Zhuan in astonishment. He had not expected that this person from the Black Smoke tribe would actually dare to look him in the eye under the pressure of his killing intent. "May I know why my king has come to Sajua's territory?" Zhuan asked indifferently. He had unintentionally made up the name Sajua for himself. After all, if he did not have a name or surname, it would arouse suspicion. "So your name is Sajua. Since you were able to kill Sagua, your strength should be above Sagua's. Are you interested in becoming my right-hand man?" The Black Smoke King asked with a faint smile. Zhuan shook his head and flatly rejected the Black Smoke King. Instead, he continued, "Thank you for your kindness, my king. Sajua does not have great ambitions. I only like to settle down in a corner and do not wish to take the next step. This time, my king has come to my territory. There must be something important, right?" The Black Smoke King nodded and said, "Head to my palace in 10 days. I am currently gathering all the experts in my tribe. I need your help to welcome a few esteemed guests to the 8 heavenly domains." "Esteemed guests?" Zhuan asked subconsciously. The Black Smoke King laughed and said, "The cultivation of the humans in the 8 heavenly domains is very weak. However, their array skills are very strong. The heavenly domain that our Black Smoke tribe has occupied is called the 6 Desires Heavenly Domain. However, the exit of the 6 Desires Heavenly Domain has been sealed by other tribes. Our Black Smoke tribe is completely helpless. If we want to conquer the other heavens, we must break the seal. In order to break the seal, I have coincidentally contacted the experts of the Devouring Clan. I plan to use the Devouring Clan's innate ability to devour and the Black Smoke Tribe's attack techniques to break the seal of the 6 Desires Heavenly Domain in one fell swoop." Zhuan narrowed his eyes and inadvertently glanced at Bloodscale beside him. Seeing that the latter was completely indifferent, he replied, "My king, are you planning to gather all the experts in your tribe to break the seal together?" Although there were many races in the ancient desolate heavenly domain, and their overall strength was extremely terrifying, there was basically no array skill or alchemy skill. In the ancient desolate heavenly domain, which believed in the supremacy of the strong, there were basically no creatures who studied array skills or alchemy. This also caused the ancient desolate heavenly domain to be far inferior to the Xianmi heavenly domain in this aspect. Even the 8 heavenly domains were far inferior. Although the Black Smoke tribe was powerful because they knew nothing about array skills, they only knew how to mess around. Naturally, it was impossible for them to break the array. The Black Smoke tribe was originally the lowest race in the ancient desolate heavenly domain. They were even more fearful of array skills than the other races. Although the Devouring Clan was not proficient in array skills, their devouring power had a restraining effect on array skills. Moreover, if they were lucky, their devouring power might even expose the array skills' weaknesses. Attacking the array skills' weaknesses was naturally much better than attacking randomly. Did the Devouring Clan also come to the 8 heavenly domains? Zhuan realized that something was wrong and immediately asked. The Black Smoke King did not notice the strange expression on Zhuan's face. He said in a deep voice. Our Black Smoke tribe was the luckiest. We were the first to discover the entrance to the 8 heavenly domains. However, the location of the entrance was extremely hidden. In the past 50 years, only our Black Smoke tribe has been able to enter the 8 heavenly domains. Originally, I did not plan to share the 8 heavenly domains with the other races. However, we have encountered a problem in the past 50 years. Therefore, it will be difficult for our Black Smoke tribe to occupy the 8 heavenly domains by ourselves. Moreover, I am also afraid that the human race of the Xianmi heavenly domain will discover it in advance. Therefore, a few days ago, I informed several races of the location of these races. The most important race is the Devouring Clan. It is said that after devouring King Bing Ju found out, he was extremely interested. He has already sent a Devouring Clan expert under his command to scout the area. That expert will arrive soon. When the Black Smoke King said this, Zhuan's heart sank. He did not expect that the Black Smoke King would actually expose the location of the barrier. Chapter 25:31. Scheming Zhuan's expression turned ugly when he thought of this. The Black Smoke clan was already troublesome enough. If other clans joined in, it would be difficult for the 8 heavens to resist. Even if the formation Dao was more effective against the creatures of the primitive heavenly realm, it was unlikely that they would be a match for them. After all, the gap between the two sides was too big. Remember, you must come to my palace in 10 days. I have to inform the other clansmen of the heavenly realm. The Black Smoke King turned back into a black shuttle and left the Pill Furnace Star Zone. Zhuan looked at the Black Smoke King with some doubt. He sent a message to Bloodscale. The Black Smoke clan is so big. Don't they have any means of communication? Do they have to send a king to send a message personally? Bloodscale smiled and said, every clan in the primitive heavenly realm has a corresponding means of communication. However, if you want to ask the clan's experts for help, the person asking for help must invite them personally. This is the importance of the clan's experts. Only in this way will the clan's experts help you wholeheartedly. Zhuan nodded when he heard this. The customs of the primitive heavenly realm were indeed very different from the human clans of the 8 heavens. In the 8 heavens, it was basically impossible for the heavenly realm's lords to invite anyone personally. They only needed to send a message. However, it was different in the primitive heavenly realm. However, when he thought of the fact that the primitive heavenly realm was a place where the strong reigned supreme and where there was great tolerance and respect for the strong, Zhuan felt relieved. Your Devouring Clan also knows this location. If we meet the Devouring Clan, we'll be exposed easily. Zhuan looked at Bloodscale seriously. Bloodscale sneered. As long as we leave the 6 Desires heavenly realm, we won't meet the Devouring Clan's experts. Do you want me to deal with the Devouring Clan's experts who are about to arrive? Zhuan shook his head. The Devouring Clan was obviously much stronger than the Black Smoke Clan. The experts they sent were at least half-step heavenly path masters. Moreover, due to their innate talent, they were definitely much stronger than the Black Smoke King. Right now, Bloodscale's strength had only recovered to the life and death extreme realm. Even facing the Black Smoke King would be difficult, let alone facing the Devouring Clan's experts. What I mean is that you help me temporarily seal off the location of the Door of Profundity and destroy the Black Smoke King at the same time, Zhuan said with a cold gaze. Zhuan knew very well that if he did not destroy the Black Smoke King, it would be useless even if he sealed the location of the Door of Profundity. The Black Smoke King could still transmit its exact location through the entrance of the Door of Profundity. Bloodscale frowned slightly. His eyes flickered as he said coldly, the Black Smoke King is a half-step heavenly path lord. My strength is only at the 2 extremities of life and death. Even if your doppelganger has reached the level of 3 extremities, the most we can do is fight him to a standstill if we join forces. However, wanting to kill the Black Smoke King is simply a pipe dream. Zhuan's eyes flickered as he said, there are still 10 days. If I allow you to cultivate in the heavenly path origin for 10 days, are you confident that you can recover your strength to the level of a half-step heavenly path lord, or even surpass that. When Bloodscale learned that Zhuan had the heavenly path origin on him, he revealed an extremely yearning expression. However, Bloodscale concealed it very well. However, Zhuan's perception was extremely sharp. He knew that the heavenly path origin was the energy that Tao proving experts cultivated. Although he did not obtain much of the heavenly path origin from the Great Brahma domain, he believed that it should not be a problem for Bloodscale to recover to the level of a half-step heavenly path lord. Originally, Zhuan would not be so generous. However, the Black Smoke King was too powerful. If he did not borrow Bloodscale strength, he would not be a match for the Black Smoke King. Fortunately, he had signed a contract with Bloodscale. Therefore, Zhuan was not afraid that Bloodscale would attack him after his strength increased. As expected, when he heard that Zhuan actually intended to let him cultivate in the heavenly path origin, Bloodscale's eyes immediately revealed a blazing light. He said in a deep voice, "If I have the heavenly path origin, I am confident that I can recover my strength to the peak of the life and death extremes within 10 days. As for becoming a half-step heavenly path lord, that will depend on luck. If your cultivation reaches the peak of the life and death extremes, are you confident that you can fight against the Black Smoke King?" Zhuan asked in return. Bloodscale hesitated for a moment, then said, "The innate talent of the Devouring Clan is much stronger than that of the Black Smoke Tribe. Although the Black Smoke King is from the royal family of the Black Smoke Tribe and is not an ordinary member of the Black Smoke Tribe, I am the king of the Devouring Clan. My innate talent will only be stronger than the Black Smoke King's. If I reach the peak of the life and death extremes, I will be able to defeat the Black Smoke King. However, I will need your help to kill the Black Smoke King." Hearing this, Zhuan was overjoyed. He immediately came to an agreement with Bloodscale. In the next 10 days, Zhuan took out the heavenly path origin and let Bloodscale cultivate in the heavenly path origin. Seeing the heavenly path origin being continuously consumed, Zhuan's heart bled. There were only 8 portions of the heavenly path origin in the 8 heavens. It could be said that it was extremely rare. Now, seeing Bloodscale absorbing the heavenly path origin's energy like a whale sucking in water, how could Zhuan not feel heartache? After 10 days, 1/3 of the heavenly path origin in Zhuan's body had been absorbed by Bloodscale. As for Bloodscale, his strength had also reached the peak of the life and death extremes. Sigh, if it weren't for the fact that my realm is insufficient, I would have used the heavenly path origin to cultivate and increase my strength. Looking at Bloodscale sitting cross-legged in front of him and silently breathing, Zhuan felt extremely depressed. Zhuan had just broken through to the life comprehending realm. Absorbing the heavenly path origin would only allow him to reach the peak of the life comprehending realm at most. It wouldn't be of much use to his strength. However, Bloodscale was different. At his peak, he was at the peak of primordial chaos lord. His realm far surpassed Zhuan's. However, because he had been exiled and sealed for many years, his strength had declined greatly. Bloodscale had a very solid foundation. What he lacked was a huge amount of heavenly path origin's energy. As long as he had enough energy, Bloodscale's strength would quickly recover. Of course, Bloodscale also knew that the amount of energy he needed to recover his peak strength was absolutely terrifying. Even if all the energy in the 8 heavens were added together, it wouldn't be enough for him to recover his peak strength. However, Bloodscale wasn't in a hurry. He planned to slowly recover his strength in the next 1,000 years. Once he recovered his strength, he would kill his way back to the Devouring Clan and retake the throne. Bloodscale opened his eyes and laughed. The heavenly path origin is really good. Recovering strength is unexpectedly fast. After saying that, Bloodscale reluctantly watched Zhuan quietly withdraw the heavenly path origin. He knew that if he absorbed all the heavenly path origin in Zhuan's body, his strength should be able to recover to the level of a half-step heavenly path master. Unfortunately, Zhuan stared at Bloodscale like he was guarding against a wolf. He had no intention of taking out the heavenly path origin for Bloodscale to absorb. Chapter 25:32. Domineering, it's time for us to leave. The 10-day deadline is up. It's time for us to head to the Black Smoke King's palace. Zhuowen said calmly. Bloodscale nodded and immediately followed Zhuowen out of the Pill Furnace starfield. After leaving the Pill Furnace starfield for some distance, Zhuowen took out the space-time wheel and disappeared into the starry sky with a whoosh. The Black Smoke King's palace was located at the former site of the Six Desires Palace. Ever since Palace Master Wujue was killed by Sakyamuni, the Six Desires Palace had been in a state of complete chaos. Later, when the Black Smoke tribe wreaked havoc, the cultivators in the star field where the Six Desires Palace was located had all fled. The Black Smoke King naturally saw the energy there was the most abundant, so he built his own palace at the former site of the Six Desires Palace. When they were not far from the palace, Zhuowen put away the space-time wheel and entered the palace with Bloodscale. At this moment, the six palaces at the former site of the Six Desires Palace were no longer there. Instead, they were replaced by a huge black palace. This palace was surrounded by black gas and looked quite strange. After Zhuowen reported his name at the entrance, he was allowed to enter. After walking through a long corridor, Zhuowen stopped in an extremely spacious hall. There were 7 seats surrounded by black smoke in the hall. At this moment, the Black Smoke King was sitting in the main seat. Other than the Black Smoke King, 5 of the other 6 seats had already been occupied. There was only 1 seat left, and it was obvious that this seat was prepared for Zhuowen. "Oh, I heard that you defeated that trash Sagwa. What kind of despicable method did you use?" A Black Smoke tribe member sitting next to the empty seat looked at Zhuowen with a pair of scarlet eyes as he mocked him. Zhuowen glanced at this Black Smoke tribe member indifferently. This Black Smoke tribe member's strength was not bad. He was also at the 2 extremes of life and death. His aura was even stronger than Sagwa's, and the black smoke around him faintly revealed a golden color. He was quite domineering. "Sagwa is only trash. I destroyed that trash with a single punch. As for you, you're even more useless than Sago. I don't even need to do anything. My subordinates can kill you with a single punch," Zhuowen retorted without holding back. This member of the Black Smoke race had made things difficult for Zhuowen the moment he opened his mouth. Clearly, he did not have any good intentions. Naturally, Zhuowen did not want to be outdone. He knew that if he were to show weakness at this time, it would only allow this guy to climb up the pole, and when the time came, he would want a yard after taking an inch. The moment Zhuowen said this, the Black Smoke race's face darkened. He sneered and said, "How arrogant! Do you think you are invincible just because you defeated Sagwa? Then I'll have to test your capabilities." As he spoke, the Golden Black Smoke clan member leaped out and charged at Zhuowen. The golden smoke condensed into a giant palm and grabbed at Zhuowen. Zhuowen stood where he was without moving. It was as if he did not care about the Golden Black Smoke race's attack. The other members of the Black Smoke race in the hall looked at this scene mockingly. Even the Black Smoke King looked at the Golden Black Smoke race with interest. They did not know this new leader, Sajua. Although they knew that Sagwa was killed by Sajua, they did not see it with their own eyes. Now that the Golden Black Smoke race had attacked, they could secretly see how strong Sajua was. Bloodscale, who was standing beside Zhuowen, shook his head helplessly. He knew that Zhuowen wanted him to attack. Thinking of this, Bloodscale took a step forward. The moment the golden hand approached him, he punched out. The terrifying power instantly shattered the golden hand. The Golden Black Smoke clan member let out a muffled groan and flew back in a sorry state. He smashed into a thick stone pillar behind him. His entire body twitched, and he was actually heavily injured. The few members of the Black Smoke race and the Black Smoke King's faces froze. They had guessed that this would be a fierce battle, but they did not expect it to be one-sided. Moreover, the one who attacked this time was not Sajua. It was just one of his followers. If a mere follower was so strong, then how strong would the master, Sajua, be? Thinking of this possibility, the other members of the Black Smoke race all looked serious and fearful. Even the Black Smoke King squinted his eyes and looked at Bloodscale, who was beside Zhuowen. Zhuowen sat down casually and patted the Golden Black Smoke race's seat. He said to Bloodscale, "Bloodscale, there's an extra seat here. You can sit here." Bloodscale nodded and took the golden black smoke race's seat without hesitation. The golden black smoke race, who was struggling to stand up, saw that Bloodscale had taken his seat. He was so angry that he almost couldn't stand straight. The injuries on his body worsened. "My king, this person is too much. Not only did he hit me in front of you, but he also let a follower take my seat. He doesn't respect you at all." The golden black smoke race could not help but say. Zhuowen sneered and said, "You provoked me first. So what if I hit you? Also, you can't even compare to my follower. Do you think you have a right to sit in this seat?" The golden black smoke race was so angry that he trembled. He pointed at Zhuowen but could not say anything. The Black Smoke King looked coldly at the golden black smoke race and said, "You can leave now." The golden black smoke race's expression changed. He knew that the Black Smoke King had already eliminated him. He had lost to a follower, so he did not have the right to sit in that seat. The golden black smoke race cupped his hands at the Black Smoke King and left the hall in a daze. After the golden black smoke race left, the Black Smoke King smiled at Zhuowen and said, "Sajua, you have many capable people by your side. Your follower's strength is not bad. What is his name?" "My king, this follower of mine is called Bloodscale. He has been with me for a long time. I hope that his reckless behavior did not cause any trouble for you, my king," Zhuowen said with a smile. The Black Smoke King waved his hand and said, "It's just a small matter." Jin Fu was too impulsive in his actions. It is only right that he be taught a lesson. Furthermore, as the king of the Black Smoke race, I am naturally overjoyed that my race has been able to gain two powerful individuals, Sajua and Xuelin. The other four experts from the Black Smoke clan chimed in as well. Clearly, the strength that Xuelin had displayed earlier had intimidated the four of them. Zhuowen waved his hand modestly for a while, then asked, "My king, you said that you have notified a few races in the primitive heaven realm. Among them, there are even devouring clan experts rushing over. Do you know when they will arrive?" The Black Smoke King had a cautious look in his eyes as he said, "The 8 heavens were discovered by our Black Smoke race. We had no choice but to inform the other races. However, the location of the boundary of the 8 heavens is extremely well hidden. Furthermore, it has been specially arranged by me. Without my personal guidance, the races in the primitive heaven realm would not be able to discover it, let alone enter the 8 heavens. I estimate that they should be arriving soon. Now, follow me to the boundary to receive them. I will guide them over while we are at it." As he spoke, the Black Smoke King stood up and walked out of the hall. Xuelin naturally followed closely behind with the other 4 Black Smoke clan experts. What made Zhuowen feel relieved was that the Black Smoke King did not bring many of his clansmen with him when he went to receive the devouring clan experts. Other than the 6 Black Smoke clan experts, the Black Smoke King only brought a few dozen Black Smoke clan elites with him. Of course, these Black Smoke race elites were too weak for Zhuowen. If he wanted to kill them, it would be too easy. Chapter 25:33. Sneak attack. As they got closer to the desolate northern region of the Heaven Domain, the number of Black Smoke clan members scattered in the surroundings decreased rapidly. As they got closer to the north, Zhuowen did not see many Black Smoke clan members on the road. The starry sky energy here is the thinnest in the 6 Desires heavenly domain. Furthermore, there aren't any large galaxies or star regions. I'm afraid there aren't many Black Smoke clan members willing to stay in the northern region of the Heaven Domain. Zhuowen guessed inwardly. The group stopped at the northern edge. Zhuowen raised his head and looked over. He discovered that there was a rather large black hole at the edge. At the edge of this black hole, there was a strange purple gas. However, this purple gas was extremely thin and was almost completely covered by the black hole. Zhuowen looked at the black hole in front of him. He knew that this should be the true barrier inside the door of profundity. Back then, the interior of the door of profundity was filled with purple Tao energy. After the door of profundity was shattered, the purple Tao energy naturally drifted away. Zhuan's consciousness also checked this black hole. He discovered that this black hole was the barrier of the door of profundity. Thinking back to the transparent barrier he saw back then, Zhuan knew that what he saw was probably an illusion. It was very likely that the door of profundity contained an extremely advanced illusory array. As the door of profundity was shattered, the illusory array was naturally broken as well. Thus, the true face of this barrier was revealed. Zhuan laughed bitterly in his heart. Thinking about the extremely dangerous prehistoric heavenly domain on the other side of this barrier, he secretly exclaimed that he was lucky that he did not enter this barrier back then. Otherwise, his end would have been truly dangerous. This barrier that connects to the prehistoric heavenly domain is extremely unstable. Its location is also extremely hidden. Furthermore, in order to prevent the other clans from discovering it, I've done some things. Thus, if you want to enter this place from the prehistoric heavenly domain, you need my personal guidance. The Black Smoke King stood at the forefront and looked at the black hole in front of him as he spoke indifferently. After speaking, the Black Smoke King landed in front of the black hole. His hands formed a seal, and just as he was about to guide the experts of the Devouring Clan on the other side of the barrier, his expression changed greatly. He suddenly threw a punch. Pucci! The Black Smoke King was caught off guard. He was directly thrown into the black hole in front of him by a huge force. However, the Black Smoke King was no ordinary person. The moment he entered the black hole, his entire body disintegrated into countless grayish-white mists. Soon after, the grayish-white fog was like a long stream as it abruptly bypassed the black hole and landed several thousand miles to the side, revealing the pale face of the Black Smoke King. From a moment, the Black Smoke King had almost fallen into the black hole to the moment he had safely dodged it. Only half a breath of time had passed. The 4 Black Smoke Tribe powerhouses had not even had the time to react before the Black Smoke King had already dodged it with great difficulty. The moment the Black Smoke King dodged the attack, a shriek rang out from one of the 4 Black Smoke Tribe powerhouses. The last Black Smoke Tribe powerhouse was struck by a huge phagocytosis. The moment the phagocytosis struck the Black Smoke Clan expert, 3 waves of extreme lightning, extreme fire, and extreme wind energy surged into the Black Smoke Clan expert's body like 3 fire dragons. Caught off guard, the Black Smoke Clan expert was annihilated by the sudden attack. The hearts of the other 3 Black Smoke Tribe experts trembled as they hurriedly distanced themselves. Only then did they realize that the one who had launched the attack was actually Sajua. At the same time, they also clearly saw that the one who had launched the sneak attack on the Black Smoke King was actually Sajua's follower, Bloodscale. Zhuan sighed softly in his heart. He had originally thought that the Black Smoke King would be blasted into the black hole barrier by Bloodscale's sneak attack. After that, he would immediately set up a sturdy restriction around the barrier before setting up a concealment restriction to completely conceal the location of the barrier. Unfortunately, the Black Smoke King was no ordinary person. In that moment of crisis, he had actually dispersed into countless grayish-white mists and dodged Bloodscale's sneak attack. However, what made Zhuan feel gratified was that his sneak attack had also eliminated one of the Black Smoke Tribe powerhouses. Zhuan naturally targeted the weakest of the Black Smoke Tribe experts. Although the Black Smoke Tribe expert that had been eliminated by a sneak attack had a cultivation base at the 2 extremities of life and death, his strength was even weaker than Sagua's. Zhuan had been able to eliminate Sagua in a head-on battle. Now that he had launched a sneak attack, it was naturally impossible for this Black Smoke Tribe expert to escape unscathed. Sajua, Bloodscale, what's the meaning of this? The Black Smoke King's face was somewhat pale. Just now, his entire body had dispersed into grayish-white mists and dodged Bloodscale's fatal attack. However, it had also consumed a lot of his energy. At this moment, the Black Smoke King was angrily looking at Sajua and Bloodscale. His voice was filled with an interrogative tone. The other 3 Black Smoke Tribe experts vigilantly landed around the Black Smoke King. Their eyes were also angrily staring at Zhuan and Bloodscale. Attack! Unfortunately, Zhuan had no intention of explaining anything to the Black Smoke King. After the Black Smoke King had finished speaking, Zhuan turned into a stream of light and swept toward the three Black Smoke Tribe experts beside the Black Smoke King. Bloodscale, on the other hand, charged directly toward the Black Smoke King. "You're courting death." The Black Smoke King saw Bloodscale directly attacking him and was immediately enraged. If it weren't for Bloodscale's sneak attack, he wouldn't have had to use his life-saving technique so early. One had to know that the life-saving technique he had just used was his innate, remarkable ability. Using it once consumed a lot of his energy. After using it just now, his strength had decreased by quite a bit. Now that he saw that the culprit still dared to attack him, the Black Smoke King was naturally enraged. Although he was enraged, the Black Smoke King was still relatively cautious. Bloodscale's sneak attack just now was not weak. Even he was somewhat afraid of it. Fortunately, the aura on Bloodscale's body was only at the pinnacle of the two extremes of life and death. Although the Black Smoke King had used his life-saving technique and consumed a lot of his energy, he was still a half-step heavenly law master. How could Bloodscale possibly be a match for him? Boom, boom, boom. In just an instant, Bloodscale and the Black Smoke King bombarded each other. Then, the two of them exchanged hundreds of blows in an instant. The Black Smoke King became more and more shocked as the fight went on. He realized that Bloodscale's strength was actually not the slightest bit weaker than his. While Bloodscale and the Black Smoke King were fighting, the three Black Smoke Tribe experts split into three different directions and surrounded Zhuan. Although the aura on Zhuan's body was not obvious, they didn't dare to underestimate him in the slightest. After all, Sajua had such a powerful Bloodscale as his follower. This person's strength might even be above that of Bloodscale. Zhuan immediately brought out the phagocytosis. At the same time, the three extreme powers of extreme fire, extreme thunder, and extreme wind surged out and transformed into three attacks that blasted toward the three Black Smoke Tribe experts. At the same time, Zhuan's original body was hidden in the surroundings and began to secretly set up a level 9 trap and kill array. Chapter 25:34. The Furious Black Smoke King. Bang, 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 bang. Zhuan immediately clashed with the three experts from the Black Smoke Tribe. Soon after, Zhuan fell into a disadvantageous position. The three experts from the Black Smoke Tribe had already prepared themselves for a bitter battle. Now that they discovered that Sajua wasn't as strong as they had imagined, they were immediately overjoyed. "Let's kill him together and then help our king." One of the experts from a Black Smoke Tribe revealed a bloodthirsty glint in his eyes as he spoke. His attacks became even more ferocious and terrifying. The other two didn't need him to speak. Naturally, they increased the frequency and strength of their attacks. In an instant, Zhuan had completely fallen into a disadvantageous position. Even parrying the attacks was a little difficult. Zhuan's heart sank. He had somewhat underestimated the strength of these three experts from the Black Smoke Tribe. These three experts were basically at the intermediate stage of the life and death dual extremities. If he was facing one of them, Zhuan would still be able to hold back. However, two of them would be a little difficult for him. Now that there were three of them attacking together, Zhuan was clearly in an extremely passive position. Bang, bang, bang. In less than 10 breaths of time, Zhuan's body had been attacked several times by the three experts. Fortunately, his doppelganger possessed the bloodline of the Devourer King. With the strength of his physical body, he was able to forcefully resist these attacks. At this moment, Zhuan no longer took the initiative to attack. Instead, he was passively defending. He was waiting for his main body to finish setting up the 9th rank Death Trap array. Once the 9th rank Death Trap array was set up, he would explode forth. This time, he had to kill these three experts from the Black Smoke Tribe. Otherwise, if they were to leave alive, he and Bloodscale would have to face an endless number of experts from the Black Smoke Tribe. Poochie. Finally, the three experts from the Black Smoke Tribe immediately blasted away the phagocytosis. They wanted to deal the final blow to Zhuowen, but their expressions changed drastically. This was because they discovered that the surrounding energy ripples had suddenly become crazy. Under these crazy energy ripples, their movements became extremely sluggish. It was as if a towering mountain was pressing down on them, making it difficult for them to even move. It's a restriction array. How does this guy know restriction array? After the three black smoke race experts felt the crazy energy in the surrounding space, they immediately thought of something. They looked at Zhuowen in disbelief. In the Eldritch Heavenly Realm, there was basically no race that was willing to study the art of formations. Therefore, in the Eldritch Heavenly Realm, except for the top 10 races, the other forces rarely used formations, and there were no formation talents. The Black Smoke race was one of the lowest races in the prehistoric heaven domain. Naturally, they didn't have any formation talents. However, this Sajua from the Black Smoke race actually knew formations. How could they not be shocked? As soon as the level 9 Death Trap array was activated, his main body, which was hidden in the starry sky, flew out. Then, a boundless sea of space-time spread out within the range of the level 9 Death Trap array. At the same time, the ninefold Tao intent within Zhuowen's body was unleashed without restraint. A dazzling purple sun rose from the horizon, and the terrifying space-time energy crushed down. The three Black Smoke race experts were already in a difficult situation due to the sudden appearance of the level 9 Death Trap array. Now that Zhuowen's main body had appeared, he immediately used the space-time ability, Waning Sun above the sea. The three of them were caught off guard, and they almost knelt on the ground. Roar! A loud roar came, and the black smoke around the clone suddenly scattered, revealing a 30-meter-tall golden beast. The giant beast suddenly lashed out with a dazzling golden claw, smashing mercilessly at the Black Smoke clan expert at the very front. Instantly, the Black Smoke race expert didn't even have time to react before the beast's claw shattered him. He didn't even have time to groan. Heavens, it's actually the devouring race and the human race. The other two Black Smoke race experts finally reacted. They stared blankly at the Black Smoke race expert who had been killed by the clone, and then at the 30-meter-tall golden beast in disbelief. At the same time, they also noticed Zhuowen's main body, who had used the space-time ability, Waning Sun above the sea. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They didn't sense the aura of the golden beast wrongly. It was indeed the devouring race. After all, their Black Smoke race had fought with the devouring race before, so they knew the aura of the devouring race very well. However, they didn't understand why the devouring race would team up with the human race to kill them. It should be known that the human race was the common enemy of all the races in the primitive heavenly region. Once the human race fell into the primitive heavenly region, they would either be killed or treated as despicable slaves to be humiliated. However, the two remaining Black Smoke race experts didn't have time to think about why the devouring race and the human race would team up to attack them. At this moment, the human race and the devouring race were like two rainbows cutting across the starry sky, violently rushing towards them. Bang! 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 In the blink of an eye, the two Black Smoke race experts were forced back by the two attacks. They were at an absolute disadvantage. Trapped in a Grade 9 Death Trap array, coupled with the terrifying space-time mystic ability of the human, the two Black Smoke race powerhouses' movements became extremely sluggish under the double pressure. They could only unleash half of their strength. Another blood-curdling scream resounded. Then, one of the Black Smoke race experts was pierced by the golden beast claw of the doppelganger. With a rip, the doppelganger tore him into pieces, dispersing into endless black smoke. When the last Black Smoke race expert saw that his comrade was killed, he was shocked. Zhuowen's main body found a flaw in his defense. Then, the king's sword pierced through the heart of the last Black Smoke race expert at an extremely tricky angle. The king's sword swung violently, and the death chi exploded. Naturally, the Black Smoke race expert followed in the footsteps of his comrade. After Zhuowen had successfully eliminated the 3 black smoke race experts, the battle on the other side had reached its climax. Bloodscale had long since torn off his disguise, revealing the enormous devouring king. The enormous blood-red body was like a blood-red mountain, towering and unapproachable. Devouring king? The Black Smoke King revealed a shocked and furious expression. Then he realized that the other 3 black smoke race experts had also been eliminated. On the other side, he also saw a devouring race expert and a human with the bloodline of the devouring king. When did your devouring race sneak into the 8 heavens? Didn't I make an agreement with you? Did I let you in so that we could break the seal of the 6 desires heavens together? The Black Smoke King stopped on the side and said with a gloomy face. Just as Bloodscale was about to speak, he was interrupted by Zhuowen. Zhuowen said indifferently, "We have already found the location. How can your puny black smoke race be compared to our devouring race? Today, I will annihilate your entire black smoke race. These 8 heavens belong to our devouring race, not your lowly black smoke race." Bloodscale's eyes flickered as he looked deeply at Zhuowen. He had already guessed Zhuowen's intention, but he did not say anything. Instead, he watched in silence. Chapter 25:35. Destroying the Black Smoke King. Let's attack together. Zhuowen immediately sent a message to Bloodscale. His doppelganger merged with his main body. He took a step forward and threw out a punch. The power of 3 levels burst out and smashed into the Black Smoke King's body. Bloodscale also attacked at the same time. He waved his huge beast claw, and countless blood-red vortexes appeared in the surrounding starry sky. Each of the blood-red vortexes contained a peerless killing power that could easily kill an ordinary life and death stage expert. Bang! 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 Suddenly, the 3 of them engaged in battle. The starry sky exploded and collapsed. The Black Smoke King was worthy of being the king of the Black Smoke race. His strength far exceeded Zhuowen and Bloodscale's expectations. Even if Zhuowen and Bloodscale joined forces and used all their skills, they could only suppress the Black Smoke King. They could not kill him at all. Your devouring race is too arrogant. Today, I will make you stay here forever. Soon, all the Black Smoke race in this heaven will come. You can wait to be attacked by the endless Black Smoke race, the Black Smoke King said coldly. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He did not expect the Black Smoke King to secretly send out a message without him noticing. If that was the case, then he and Bloodscale were in a really bad situation. After all, facing an entire heaven's black smoke race, unless one was at the level of the Heavenly Law Master, they would definitely fall. Even the Heavenly Law Master would find it difficult to resist the endless black smoke race. He would have to pay an unimaginable price. Bloodscale, don't hold back. You must destroy the Black Smoke King as soon as possible. Zhuowen sent a message to Bloodscale. After all, this Bloodscale was the previous devouring king. He did not believe that this guy did not have a powerful trump card. As expected, Bloodscale showed hesitation. He said, "The side effects of my trump card are too great. Once I use it, my realm may fall. We're already at a critical juncture. Why are you still hesitating?" Zhuowen said coldly. Bloodscale nodded and said, "Step back first. No matter how powerful my trump card is, it is not hard to guarantee that it will be able to kill this Black Smoke King. After all, this Black Smoke King's life-saving methods are very powerful. You have seen it for yourself just now. We can only give it our all. Don't worry, if you don't kill this Black Smoke King, I will help you clean up your mess," Zhuowen said in a deep voice. Zhuowen recalled the first move of the tyrannical Dao slaughtering art that he had just learned, the slaughtering Dao finger. Although his realm was only at the life enlightenment realm, after fusing with his clone, his strength was close to the peak of the life and death realm. He knew that his current strength was sufficient to annihilate a half-step Heavenly Dao Master and even pose a threat to the Heavenly Dao Master. Bloodscale looked at Zhuowen, who was full of confidence and astonishment. In the end, he nodded and did not say anything. When Zhuowen took a few steps back, Bloodscale's gaze became serious. Then, the blood-colored scales all over his body suddenly stood up. After that, waves of blood energy gushed out from the gaps between the blood-colored scales. The blood energy continued to churn. Then, it condensed into a blood-colored halberd that was hundreds of feet long. Whoosh! When the blood-colored halberd finally took shape, Zhuowen heard the sound of an arrow leaving the bowstring. Then, a surge of killing intent spread throughout the entire starry sky. Just the killing intent alone caused the surrounding starry sky to tremble, collapse, and tumble. Zhuowen found it hard to imagine. If he were to face this blood-colored halberd head-on, he was afraid that he would not have a good ending. The Black Smoke King also felt the peerless killing intent in the starry sky. Then, he saw the blood-colored halberd break through the air, and his pupils could not help but shrink. He wanted to avoid it, but the killing intent of the blood-colored halberd was too terrifying. It firmly locked onto him. He knew very well that no matter where he hid, he would not be able to avoid this blood-colored halberd. This was because he had been completely locked onto, unless he could break free from this killing intent. Unfortunately, he knew very well that he could not do so at the moment. Whoosh! The blood-colored halberd violently pierced through the Black Smoke King. Then, the Black Smoke King's body was sent flying, dispersing into countless grayish-white mists. These grayish-white mists tumbled and fell not far away. They once again condensed into the Black Smoke King's body. However, the Black Smoke King's face was increasingly pale. The moment the Black Smoke King reformed his body, his expression changed greatly again. This was because the killing intent did not disappear. Instead, it locked onto him once again. Then, the blood-colored halberd suddenly turned around and pierced through the Black Smoke King once again, destroying him. Bang, bang, bang. Wherever the killing intent spread, the Black Smoke King had nowhere to hide. It was like a cycle of reincarnation. He was pierced and shattered by the blood-colored halberd again and again. He was shattered a total of 9 times. When the Black Smoke King reformed his body for the 10th time, the blood-colored halberd suddenly collapsed. The peerless killing intent also disappeared without a trace. Whoosh! Bloodscale violently spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His entire body was overflowing with bloody mist. He could no longer maintain the Devourer King form and reverted to the body of a man dressed in blood-red clothes. His face was pale and bloodless. Zhuowen rolled up his sleeves and caught Bloodscale's flying body. I've already done my best. This Black Smoke King's innate ability is too abnormal. I've killed him 10 times, but this guy won't die at all. Bloodscale said with a bitter smile. At this moment, Bloodscale was on the verge of collapse. His entire body was powerless. He could not even maintain the Devourer King form. This showed how weak he was. The Black Smoke King sighed softly. Although he was also on the verge of exhaustion, he was still relieved in his heart. His innate ability could only be used 12 times at most. Now that he had used it 10 times in a row, there were only 2 more times left. After these 2 times were used up, if he were to be killed again, he would really be done for. Fortunately, Bloodscale was already completely exhausted. Otherwise, the Black Smoke King knew that he would really be done for. Now, all he needed to do was stall for time. When the Black Smoke race arrived, these 2 people would undoubtedly die, and he would certainly be saved. Zhuowen turned his head and looked behind him. In the distance, he could vaguely see a black mass that covered the sky and covered the earth. Although he could not see it clearly, he knew that it should be the endless Black Smoke race. He had not expected the Black Smoke race to arrive so quickly. He had to completely eliminate the Black Smoke King before the Black Smoke race arrived. As he thought of this, Zhuowen suddenly stepped forward. His hands quickly formed seals. Then his right index finger bent and pointed at the void. Suddenly, the heavenly path energy in the starry sky boiled. With a light tap of his finger, the boiling heavenly Tao energy frantically condensed into a huge finger. This finger was only a few dozen feet in size, but the terrifying heavenly path aura that emanated from it caused the Black Smoke King's heart to tremble. What kind of innate ability is this? The Black Smoke King only had time to say this one sentence before the heavenly path finger pointed at the void. Then, the Black Smoke King did not even have time to grunt before he was annihilated by the heavenly path finger. After that, the Black Smoke King reformed his body with great difficulty not far away. Zhuowen violently spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale as he pointed his right finger again. The heavenly path finger once again blasted toward the Black Smoke King, who had just reformed his body. Without exception, the Black Smoke King was once again blasted into smithereens. When the heavenly path finger blasted toward the Black Smoke King for the third time, the Black Smoke King knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. He knew that this time, he would not be able to use his life-saving innate ability. This time, he would truly die. Chapter 2536, Diverting the Trouble. When the Black Smoke King was completely annihilated by the slaughtering Dao finger, the countless Black Smoke tribe members in the distance seemed to have sensed something. Zhuowen looked at the endless Black Smoke tribe members in the distance. They were like black clouds pressing down on the border, and he was scared witless. He knew that the Black Smoke King must have notified the entire Black Smoke tribe in the Six Desires heavenly domain. With so many Black Smoke tribe members, it was enough to annihilate Zhuowen and Bloodscale into nothingness. Zhuowen had already set up a concealment formation behind them. Furthermore, the Black Smoke tribe members were very far away. Zhuowen believed that the Black Smoke tribe members had not seen him and Bloodscale kill the Black Smoke King. It seemed that the Black Smoke King had sent a message to the Black Smoke tribe members before he died. Although he did not know the content of the message, Zhuowen could guess that his and Bloodscale's identities had definitely been exposed. "Zhuowen, what should we do?" Bloodscale's face was still pale. After using his trump card just now, his injuries were extremely severe. Now, he could barely do some basic movements. It was impossible for him to fight. Zhuowen had used the slaughtering Dao finger, which had consumed a lot of his energy. Not to mention that Zhuowen and Bloodscale were currently not in their best condition. Even if they were, they would not be a match for the endless Black Smoke tribe members. "We need to find a scapegoat." Zhuowen swept in front of the black hole barrier and immediately formed a seal with both hands. At the same time, he took out 81 beast bone array discs and began to deduce the way the barrier worked. The way the barrier worked was extremely clever. Even though Zhuowen had already become a level 9 divine array master, Zhuowen knew that he was still far from being able to break the barrier. However, what he was doing now was not to break the barrier. Instead, he was changing the position of the barrier, causing the original position of the barrier to change slightly. Of course, while changing the location of the barrier, Zhuowen was also deciphering the location of the barrier. He understood clearly that the experts of the Devouring Clan were on the other side of the barrier. What he needed to do now was to lure the experts of the Devouring Clan to the 8 heavens. Then, he would change the location of the barrier. "Zhuowen, hurry up. The Black Smoke tribe is not far from us." Bloodscale could vaguely guess what Zhuowen was going to do. Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. His hands formed hand seals at an extremely fast speed, like a howling gale. His eyes grew brighter and brighter. "All right, I'll set up a temporary teleportation array and teleport back to Pill Furnace City. I've changed the location of this barrier. I'm afraid the experts of the Great Desolate Heaven territory can't find it in a short time. And that expert of the Devouring Clan will follow the mark I've left to teleport to this place." After saying that, Zhuowen changed his hand seals. 81 beast bone array discs quickly arranged themselves into an exquisite teleportation array. When he left Pill Furnace City, he had secretly left a teleportation array on the 10th floor of the Pill Tower. The Six Desires heavenly realm was full of dangers. Zhuowen naturally needed to leave a backup plan. Otherwise, if he encountered a crisis, he would be able to leave calmly. After setting up the teleportation array, Zhuowen and Bloodscale were teleported away. Not long after they were teleported away, ripples appeared in the black hole barrier in front of them. Then, 2 figures with powerful auras appeared. At first glance, these 2 people looked like humans. However, There was a strange suction force around them. The rocks that floated past them were sucked into nothingness. This is the eight heavens? The energy here is so thin. These two people were extremely tall. They looked like young men in their 20s. However, they were 3 meters tall, much taller than the average human. One of the golden-clothed young men suddenly frowned. He looked ahead with a suspicious expression. "What's wrong, Jinlin?" The white-clothed young man beside the golden-clothed young man suddenly asked. The golden-clothed young man did not answer the white-clothed young man. Instead, he took a step forward and grabbed at the void with his right hand. Suddenly, the space in front of him was torn to pieces like a piece of paper. "It's a concealment array. I don't know what the Black Smoke King is up to. He clearly informed the king of my clan that he sent you and me here. However, the Black Smoke King dares not to welcome us personally. How presumptuous!" The golden-clothed young man snorted coldly. The white-clothed young man pointed at the starry sky in front of them and said, "Jinlin, look ahead. Isn't that the Black Smoke tribe? They might be here to welcome us." The golden-clothed young man raised his head and looked at the densely packed Black Smoke tribe tens of thousands of miles away. He frowned slightly. He realized that these Black Smoke tribe members were aggressive. Something was wrong. However, when he recalled that the two of them were sent by the Devouring King, these Xiaohe Smoke tribe members would not dare to act recklessly. Therefore, he was not too worried. It was only when countless Black Smoke tribe members covered the sky and covered the earth that their attacks landed on the golden-clothed young man and the white-clothed young man did the two of them realize that these Black Smoke tribe members were not here to welcome them. Instead, they were here to attack them. "You dare to attack our great devouring clan?" The golden-clothed young man shouted angrily. He wanted to use the name of the devouring clan to intimidate these impudent Black Smoke tribe members. However, the golden-clothed young man's words completely infuriated these Black Smoke tribe members. It must be those two from the devouring clan. Before our king died, he sent us a message. He was ambushed by two from the devouring clan and a human. It is said that the two from the devouring clan disguised themselves as Sajua and his followers to ambush him. Damn it! Our king clearly welcomed you personally and even brought you to welcome the experts from the devouring clan. You actually ambushed our king and caused his death. Do you think that our Black Smoke tribe is easy to bully? What nonsense are you spouting? Just kill these two bastards. So what if they are from the devouring clan? This is not the primitive heavenly region. It has long been the territory of our Black Smoke tribe. Just two from the devouring clan. Kill them. Instantly, the endless attacks of the Black Smoke tribe members became more and more terrifying as they poured down on them. The golden-clothed young man and the white-clothed young man's faces changed drastically. They used all of their skills to resist the endless attacks. However, they were baffled. The two of them had just arrived in the 8 heavenly regions. They had not even seen the Black Smoke King yet, but they were already attacked by the endless Black Smoke tribe members. Moreover, these Black Smoke tribe members said that the two of them had killed their Black Smoke King. This was simply ridiculous. Although the golden-clothed young man and the white-clothed young man were confused, they knew that the two of them had taken the blame for someone else. "Jinlin, what should we do?" The white-clothed young man's face was extremely ugly as he looked at the golden-clothed young man beside him. The golden-clothed young man roared. "We must have been set up by someone else. There are too many of these Black Smoke tribe members. Let's go back to the primitive heavenly region." Chapter 25:37. Mayujia's message, bastard. Someone actually set up a defensive formation here. Break for me. The golden-clothed young man cursed. With a roar, he revealed his huge golden beast body. His huge beast claws cut through the starry sky and heavily slammed into the defensive array. Immediately, the array was smashed into countless pieces. However, it was this defensive formation that delayed his most precious time to escape. The Black Smoke tribe at the front naturally guessed the golden-clothed youth's intention. Then, countless Black Smoke tribe members rushed in from the front, pushing the golden-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth away. Even though the two devouring clan members had revealed their true forms and their strength had increased greatly, there were too many Black Smoke tribe members. They were densely packed and attacked without any regard for their lives. The two devouring clan members could only be pushed further and further away from the boundary. In the empty 10th floor of the Pill Tower in Pill Furnace City, ripples appeared in space. Then, two figures appeared on the 10th floor. After entering the Pill Tower, Zhuowen immediately extended his soul consciousness to the outside world. He found that Pill Furnace City and even the Pill Furnace Star area were empty. There was not a single Black Smoke tribe member. In the star areas around the Pill Furnace Star area, there was basically no sign of the Black Smoke tribe. Zhuowen knew that the Black Smoke King must have summoned them to the northern part of the Heaven region. Let's disguise ourselves as the Black Smoke tribe again and leave the Six Desires Heavenly region immediately. I think the Black Smoke tribe members will realize it soon. When that time comes, we won't be able to escape. As Zhuowen spoke, he disguised himself as a member of the Black Smoke tribe again. Bloodscale also nodded. After disguising themselves as members of the Black Smoke tribe, the two of them quietly left the Pill Furnace Star area. After discovering that there were basically no Black Smoke tribe members around, Zhuowen immediately took out the space-time wheel and quickly flew toward the border of the Six Desires Heavenly region. Half a day later, the space-time wheel landed on the Steel Continent at the border of the Six Desires Heavenly region. On the way from the Pill Furnace Star area to the Steel Continent, Zhuowen basically did not see any Black Smoke tribe members. However, when he arrived at the Steel Continent, he immediately discovered that there were thousands of Black Smoke tribe members on the continent. Fortunately, Zhuowen's consciousness had already sensed that something was wrong with this Steel Continent, so he had already put away the space-time wheel before entering. Otherwise, the Black Smoke tribe would definitely suspect a flying divine artifact. The entrance of Zhuowen and Bloodscale didn't elicit any reaction from the Black Smoke tribe on the Steel Continent. At most, some of them glanced at Zhuowen and Bloodscale before casually floating around the continent. "Brother, our king has fallen. Why don't you help the other clansmen kill the real culprit?" Zhuowen casually pulled a Black Smoke race member aside and asked politely. The Black Smoke race member sized up Zhuowen and said coldly, "This is the border of the Heaven region. We were ordered by our king to guard this place and try to break the seal of this border. Don't you know this?" Zhuowen smiled awkwardly and said, "I'm sorry, I was too worried about my king's safety that I didn't think of it. We have so many clansmen. What can two devouring clan members do? Moreover, those two devouring clan members are only at the peak of the life and death realm. With such strength, they will definitely die. By the time we get there, I'm afraid those two devouring clan members will already be dead," the Black Smoke race member said indifferently. After the Black Smoke race member left, Zhuowen's eyes revealed a contemplative look. He didn't expect the devouring king of the great desolate Heaven region to send two devouring clan members. However, these two devouring clan members were only at the peak of the life and death realm. Their strength was a little too low. Those two devouring clan members must have been sent by the devouring king to test the Black Smoke King. Naturally, he didn't send the real elites. After all, the Six Desires Heaven region is currently the territory of the Black Smoke race. Moreover, the entrance is controlled by the Black Smoke King. The devouring king won't easily send the real elites of the devouring clan here, Bloodscale said. Hearing this, Zhuowen nodded. His gaze passed over the Steel Continent and landed on the end of the continent. He discovered that there was indeed an extremely powerful restriction at the end of the continent. With Zhuowen's eyesight, he discovered that the restriction was actually a level 9 defensive formation. The power of this defensive formation was even more exquisite and powerful than the defensive formation that Zhuowen had set up. Obviously, it wasn't set up by an ordinary level 9 Divine Array Master. At this moment, there were many Black Smoke Race members guarding the edge of the defensive formation. There were also other Black Smoke Race members observing the defensive formation. They seemed to be trying to find some clues from the defensive formation. Zhuowen's consciousness entered the defensive formation. He wasn't worried about being suspected by the other Black Smoke Race members because the other Black Smoke Race members observing the defensive formation also sent their consciousness into the defensive formation. This wasn't strange at all. However, the moment Zhuan's consciousness entered the defensive formation, a wave of fluctuation actually came from the defensive formation. Then, a familiar voice rang out in Zhuan's mind. "Brother Zhua, I'll be waiting for you in the river of space-time quicksand. Come quickly." Zhuan retracted his consciousness and focused his gaze. He wasn't unfamiliar with that voice. Wasn't it the voice of Ma Yujie, who he hadn't seen in a long time? Speaking of the river of space-time quicksand, Zhuan thought of the mysterious head. He still had the mysterious head's left eye and heart in his spirit ring. He had inherited Miao Bang's memories from the True Dragon Blood Pool. He knew that the mysterious head's owner was called Shui Wuhan and was very powerful. There was still some time before Shui Wuhan's appointment, so Zhuan wasn't in a hurry to return the left eye and heart. However, why did Ma Yujie want to go into the river of space-time quicksand? However, there was one thing that Zhuan was certain of. The defensive formation at the edge of the defensive formation was definitely set up by Ma Yujie. Otherwise, Ma Yujie wouldn't have left his consciousness in the defensive formation. Ma Yujie's consciousness must have sensed Zhuan's aura, so he sent this strand of consciousness to Zhuan. "How is it? Can you break this defensive formation?" Bloodscale asked when he saw Zhuan in a daze. "It's not easy to break it, but I have something to do now. I'm afraid I need to go somewhere. I need to leave the Iron Continent first." Then, Zhuan left the Iron Continent. Although Bloodscale was suspicious of Zhuan's sudden change of heart, he could only follow him. Zhuan and Bloodscale's departure didn't attract the attention of the Black Smoke tribe on the Iron Continent. At most, some of them looked at the direction that Zhuan and Bloodscale had left in with surprise. They just wandered around the continent as if nothing had happened. When Zhuan left the Iron Continent for the river of space-time quicksand, he realized that the number of Black Smoke tribe members around him had increased. Hence, Zhuan put away the space-time wheel and drifted in the starry sky like the Black Smoke tribe members. "It seems like the two devouring clan members have been dealt with," Bloodscale said in a low voice. Zhuan nodded. He knew that the Black Smoke tribe members had increased in number because they had returned from the northern part of the Heaven region. The return of these Black Smoke tribe members meant that the two devouring clan members would meet a miserable end. The two of them spent a few days before finally arriving at the river of space-time quicksand. At this moment, there were no cultivators in the river of space-time quicksand. There were only a few Black Smoke tribe members wandering around. Chapter 25:38. The birth of traceless blood. The space-time quicksand river was divided into three regions, namely the time region, the space region, and the space-time region. Zhuan had already comprehended the space-time law to great success, so the space-time quicksand river didn't affect him at all. Of course, even if Zhuan hadn't comprehended the space-time law, the space-time quicksand river wouldn't affect him much with his current strength. After all, the space-time law and the space-time quicksand river wasn't complete and wasn't very powerful. It could only pose a significant obstacle to cultivators below the Void Sky Ninth Step. However, for cultivators above the Void Sky Ninth Step, the space-time law and the space-time quicksand river was probably child's play. Of course, even a Void Sky Ninth Step expert wouldn't have had a good time in the mystic realm that Zhuan had entered because that mystic realm was controlled by the mysterious head. Even though Zhuan was strong enough now, he was still very wary of the mysterious head. He knew that even though the mysterious head's body was incomplete, its strength was still far beyond that of a cultivator in the life and death boundary. After entering the space-time quicksand river, Zhuan quickly passed through the time and space regions according to his memory and entered the third region, the space-time region. The space-time region was gray everywhere. This was a special color formed by the overlapping of the space-time law and the space law. After walking in the space-time region for 3 days, Zhuan stopped and looked ahead. What appeared in front of Joan was a beautiful world that was completely different from the gray and dim aura of the rest. Standing here, Joan felt like he was standing on a beach where the sun was about to set below the sea level. The red sunset glow was like a rainbow, forming a rainbow bridge over the sea in the distance. It also looked like flames devouring the sea level. It looked magnificent and majestic. Bloodscale, who was next to Joan, was stunned when he saw this scene. He immediately sighed and said, "It's really a beautiful place. The space-time law here is really powerful. The place we're going to is the cliff at the end of the sea level." As Joan spoke, he pointed to the front. At the furthest point of the sunset, a cliff slowly stood on the surface of the sea, as if it was sending off the last ray of the setting sun. Bloodscale nodded. Although his face was still a little pale, his injuries were a little better than before. However, the side effects of using his trump card were too great, so he had to slowly recuperate to fully recover. Although the space-time law of this sea of sunset was terrifying, it did not affect Joan at all. Bloodscale was already extremely powerful, so it naturally did not affect him much. When the two of them arrived in front of the cliff, Joan subconsciously wanted to dive into the sea at the edge of the cliff. He found that the sea water was completely frozen at a certain point. He could not enter the bottom of the sea at all. "You've come," a deep voice slowly sounded out. Soon after, Joan discovered that a blood-red head had appeared above the cliff. The blood-colored head looked down at Joan indifferently, and there was a trace of excitement and anticipation in its indifferent eyes. Joan still could not see through the aura of the blood-colored head. He only felt that the blood-colored head was stronger than him, or even stronger than Bloodscale. This person is very powerful. Bloodscale only said a few words, but his eyes were filled with vigilance. Joan nodded. He also looked at the blood-colored head with some vigilance. At the same time, he secretly scanned the entire blood-colored cliff with his consciousness. He wanted to see where my Yujia was hiding. "Brother Joa, are you looking for me?" Suddenly, a slightly sharp voice sounded, and a fat figure slowly walked out from the back of the cliff. "Wasn't my Yujia?" Joan glanced at my Yujia, then looked at the blood-colored head above, and said solemnly, "Senior, do you want me to fulfill our agreement?" The blood-colored head just stared at Joan without saying anything. Joan frowned, but he could not help but take a few steps back. But soon, he discovered that an extremely terrifying killing intent had firmly locked onto him, causing him to be frozen in place, unable to move. "Senior, what is the meaning of this?" Joan's eyes darkened. The blood-colored head said indifferently, "According to the agreement, you will hand over my left eye and heart. I won't make things difficult for you. After all, we've already reached an agreement. I won't attack you." Joan sneered inside. He knew that he had no other choice now, so he took out the mysterious eyeball and heart from his spirit ring. As soon as the mysterious eyeball appeared, it let out an excited hiss, then shot out and drilled into the blood-colored head's empty left eye, while the heart slowly floated beside the blood-colored head. "You've done well." The mysterious head revealed a satisfied expression, and then an extremely terrifying aura erupted from within the blood-colored cliff. Afterwards, the sea of sunset that had been frozen in place by the laws of space-time began to boil, and countless pillars of water shot up. Joan's heart sank, and he hurriedly retreated, but he was also struck by the terrifying aura, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. After retreating to a safe distance, Joan discovered that the blood-colored cliff had completely shattered. At the bottom of the blood-colored cliff, a headless body that was several feet long had actually rushed out. The headless body's limbs were bound by blood-red chains, and the left side of its chest was empty. Clearly, its heart had been dug out. With Joan's eyesight, he could naturally tell that the blood-red chains were condensed from space-time force. Moreover, the space-time force was far more terrifying than the sum of all the space-time force in the Sea of Sunset, or even the entire river of space-time quicksand. "Space-time Master, you've sealed me away for so long. Today I, Shui Wuhan, am finally free. The moment the headless body appeared, the blood-red head landed on the headless body, and then the beating heart shot into the left side of the headless body's chest. Rumble. Immediately, the entire sea of sunset shook even more terrifyingly. Even the Black Smoke clan that was far away from the river of space-time quicksand sensed the abnormalities in the river, and they were all surprised. Shatter. Shui Wuhan suddenly swung his hands, and the blood-red chains that bound his limbs immediately began to crack. Shui Wuhan constantly struggled, and more cracks appeared on the surface of the chains. In the end, they completely shattered, and Shui Wuhan regained his freedom. Shui Wuhan laughed heartily at the sky. His laughter was filled with delight and relief, and it even seemed a little crazy. At this moment, the sea of sunset began to boil even more violently. Waves of profound energy began to spread, and even from afar, Zhuan could sense the terror of the energy. As a result, he was forced to retreat even further. Chapter 2539. The origin of Traceless Bloodjuan's eyes were extremely solemn. He knew that Traceless Blood's strength wasn't low, especially after inheriting the memories of Miaobang. He knew that Traceless Blood was terrifying. It's just that he didn't expect that Traceless Blood was actually a powerhouse in the second step of Tao confirming. Now, he somewhat doubted whether Traceless Blood was a cultivator from one of the 8 heavens. It should be known that the 8 heavens don't even have a real powerhouse in the Tao confirming realm, let alone a powerhouse in the second step. In addition, Zhuan guessed that the space-time lord shouldn't be an ordinary person. Since he was able to seal such a terrifying powerhouse like Traceless Blood, Zhuan guessed that the space-time lord was also a powerhouse in the second step of Tao confirming. Whoosh! After Traceless Blood's body was completely reassembled, the energy of the entire sea of sunset, or rather, the entire space-time quicksand river, rushed madly into Traceless Blood's body. At this moment, Traceless Blood became the center of a huge vortex inside the space-time quicksand river. Feeling such a huge movement around him, Zhuan's face changed slightly, and he quickly rushed out of the sea of sunset. At the same time, he summoned the phagocytosis to resist the tearing force formed by this terrifying energy vortex. Bloodscale hasn't fully recovered due to his serious injuries, so he was taken to the inner world by Zhuan to slowly recover. Brother Ma, what the hell is going on? Shouldn't you explain it to me? Zhuan turned his head and looked at Ma Yujia on the side. After Traceless Blood's body was reassembled, the latter immediately retreated to a spot not far away from Zhuan. Ma Yujia's fat face was still smiling. He looked at Zhuan and said, "This senior's name is Traceless Blood, and he came from the 9th heaven. I heard that he chased a powerhouse of the witch race to the 8 heavens in the past. Later, he had a conflict with the space-time lord, and both sides suffered heavy losses. In the end, he was dismembered and suppressed here by the space-time lord." Zhuan frowned slightly. He looked at Ma Yujia. Although he wasn't sure if what the latter said was true or false, he knew that Traceless Blood wasn't a cultivator from the 8 heavens. Is the space-time lord also from the 9th heaven? Zhuan asked. Ma Yujia shook his head and said, "The space-time lord isn't from the 9th heaven, but a powerhouse from the space beast race called the Great Desolate Heaven. I heard that the space-time lord secretly followed the witch race powerhouse to the 8 heavens. I wonder if the witch race powerhouse has any secrets?" Zhuan's heart trembled. He was sure that the sorcerer tribe expert that Ma Yujia was talking about was the Miao tribe. Miaobang's strength was not considered strong. He was probably only at primordial chaos master's level. He was still quite far away from the second step of Tao validation. The space-time master was definitely a second-step Tao validation expert. Since the master of time and space had secretly followed Miaobang here, he probably suspected that Miaobang knew about the Zhurong Gu. Later on, for some reason, he had a conflict with Traceless Blood. Thus, a great battle broke out, and both sides suffered. What Zhuan was worried about now was whether Traceless Blood knew the secret of Miaobang. If he knew, Zhuan might also be suspected by him. At that time, he might be in danger. Generally speaking, Zhuan leaving the space-time quicksand river now is a wiser move. But he knows that once he leaves now, he will really be finished. Leaving means that he has a guilty conscience. With Traceless Blood's terrifying strength, once he recovers, catching him back is just a piece of cake. So leaving now will only make Traceless Blood suspicious. If he faces it openly, Traceless Blood won't think too much. Brother Zhua, you should have entered the small world of the blood-stained cliff again, right? I don't know if you found the blood-colored Dao tree in the abyss of the cliff. Ma Yujie suddenly said mysteriously. Zhuan said seriously, I did find the blood-colored Dao tree, but unfortunately, it can't be transplanted. Otherwise, I would have already transplanted it. Ma Yujie frowned. He didn't expect Zhuan to not take the blood-colored Dao tree away. He sighed and said, so that's how it is. Originally, the blood-colored Dao tree was quite useful to me. I originally planned to use the space-time key to exchange for it with Brother Zhua. Since that's the case, then forget it. When Zhuan heard that Ma Yujie was planning to use the space-time key to exchange with him, his expression changed. He changed his words and said, later on, I went again and used the Heavenly Way origin to successfully transplant the blood-colored Dao tree. Ma Yujie smiled, not minding that Zhuan had suddenly changed his mind. Instead, he said in pleasant surprise, if that's really the case, then that's great. If Brother Zhuan doesn't mind, how about exchanging the space-time key with you for the blood-red Dao tree? Zhuan had some doubts in his heart. He knew Ma Yujie's character very well. This guy wouldn't make a deal where he would lose out. Zhuan had also studied the blood-colored Dao tree. Apart from being able to produce Dao fruits and having a strong Dao aura, there didn't seem to be anything special about it. He didn't know what Ma Yujie was selling. Although the space-time key is precious, you still need to collect 3. One is no different from having none. Zhuan said awkwardly. The corner of Ma Yujie's eyes twitched. He quickly took out 10 Dao fruits from his spirit ring. At the same time, he took out a dozen supreme-grade starry sky, divine veins, and said, with these, it should be enough. Zhuan sneered in his heart. This Ma Yujie was really generous. He actually took out 10 Dao fruits at once. Back then, this guy had told him that he only had less than 10 Dao fruits. Now, he was showing his true colors. However, Zhuan didn't care. He waved his sleeve and put away the Dao fruits and starry sky divine veins. At the same time, he took out the blood-colored Dao tree. This blood-colored Dao tree was of little value to him. Although he knew that this blood-colored Dao tree might not be ordinary. Since Ma Yujie had taken a fancy to it, Zhuan couldn't see through the use of this blood-colored Dao tree. It was useless to keep it by his side. It was better to exchange it for something useful to him. Zhuan himself had comprehended a powerful space-time sacred art and had comprehended the laws of space-time. He was the best candidate to enter the space-time temple. Perhaps he could enter the space-time temple and gain a new understanding. At that time, his space-time sacred art would be completely perfected and become even stronger. Ma Yujie took the blood-colored Dao tree and checked it several times. Then, he nodded with satisfaction and said, Brother Zhua, you really keep your word. Rumble. After Zhuan and Ma Yujie completed the exchange, the entire river of space-time quicksand exploded. Then, Zhuan was shocked to find that the huge river of space-time quicksand had completely collapsed. Then, his gaze fell on Shui Wuhan, who was in the core area of the river of space-time quicksand. His heart trembled. He knew that Shui Wuhan had absorbed all the energy in the river of space-time quicksand. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.